But the reason I sometimes choose to avoid these conversations is maybe because they're difficult. And dare I say anything about finances, and that's it. That's, you know,
but it's not.
Hold on.
Okay, sorry.
There's a lot of pressure on me. If you wanted me, I want it myself. It's not bad to kind of, you know, be more successful for a second. But when you deliver it with that, you know, jab, it feels like, ugh.
It feels what?
It feels...
It feels what? What does it feel?
It feels like a jab.
Like, okay, but I'm asking you nicely.
But the anger's manifesting right now. I mean, you're getting...
It's not, I'm not, Rod.
Okay.
I'm really not.
Okay.
Well, you sound angry.
Okay.
You sound frustrated.
If we got way off the topic of how he feels when I feel upset, I think that this actually brings us right back there. Because we're talking about like how you make me feel and you go, that's in your head. Or not, you can't feel that way because I'm such a good husband.
I think I would like to start from a place where we give Mao a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
I'm not sure I heard it that way, and I'd like to believe, I mean, I've seen you react empathically, and I'd like to believe that you've got that in you. So...
Yeah, I'm not gonna help you with that. I don't need to earn anything there. I have it. If you can't see it, like, fuck you. And like, if you're not being magnanimous. Like,
I'm not being magnanimous.
I know you're not, and I'm telling you you're not. Describe anything you want, but don't ascribe motivations to me. That's just unfair to me.
Okay, I won't.
I don't think it's in your head. You didn't make it up, babe. You're telling a story about something. I'm listening to you.
Okay.
That I can say a word, and you could take that word and imagine it. I've brewed some evil concoction. Like, fuck you. Like, stop. That's the problem. And you're right. This does exemplify it, but not in the way you imagine, in the way that I imagine. You keep telling the narrative as if I can't meet you where you're at. You're not meeting me where I'm at. All the time, recognizing the distance between us is the distance that I'm not moving. It's the distance between us. If you want to close that distance, start fucking walking toward me. Stop telling me you're over there and I need to just, like, get it because you've had bad experiences. Okay, me too. So I'm happy to patiently sit here and listen to everything. And I'm empathetic. I'm empathetic all the fucking time. That's not a problem. You don't have a problem of a lack of empathy in your husband. That's not what you have. You feel like you're not getting something, you're getting it, and you feel like you're not getting it. But I can only give you it, right? If you don't accept it, it isn't something else. There's not something else, there's not a magic ingredient missing. The grass is not greener. I can't do it while tap dancing. And I bent myself into a pretzel to try to figure out whatever it is that you need and then be called all sorts of fucking names in the therapist's office because I protected you. That's it. Okay?
Yes.
All right.
I just want to check your... What angered you the most is the misread of you that Annie had right now?
It doesn't anger me the most. It's just the most disappointing. Like, really, still? And if you feel that way, babe, I love you. You should leave. You should not live your life in this level of consternation. And if I'm the cause of it, you shouldn't be near me. If there's something there, you know, as horrible as it will be for me, you can't live your life this disabled.
When we first got married, there was good and there was bad. Big picture items we're on the same page about, like how to raise our children, the fact that we both, you know, we're Jewish and we're Orthodox, so we agree on everything having to do with that. But over the course of the last few years, things have definitely become more difficult. I've been very disappointed with like where we are now and
where you are as far as?
Everything, like where we are financially, where we are as a couple, where we are sexually. Like, I want to be pregnant yesterday. I ask him that all the time. You know, I ask him, when am I going to have another baby, Michael? Well, we can't afford one right now. unless I do something. So I'm constantly walking around with all this resentment and all this anger and all this frustration. So, and I feel like ultimately the reason for that is I blame him. Because if he were different, then the situation would be different. If he acted differently, if he acted accordingly,
then
the
he would
situation
deliver
be
the
different.
life you
Yeah, he would deliver the
wanted.
life that I want.
So what happened?
Why am I answering all the questions? Maybe you can pipe in.
What happened?
What happened? Why
How
have I
is
not
that not-
satisfied her every
You know what
desire?
happened? He happened.
See, that's not a nice way to introduce me. I mean, my general perspective on marriage is more that, like, it's two people trying to make it through life together as partners, and they're each contributing whatever they can in whatever way they can to get through it.
You know what that sounds like to me when he says that? Is I'm hearing that is what a lazy person would say. Oh, you know what it is? It's that every individual, it's like a socialism, right? So we're in a socialist cooperative now. And every person has to
In the case
contribute.
of marriage, I feel like socialism
Yeah.
isn't the worst model.
I'm sure you feel that way.
People
Every person
share
has to
equally,
contribute
they all
equally.
benefit.
Can you
It's,
both
I'm
slow
the
it down?
person that's screwed over by it because
Just to
I'm the
clear the
person
way,
that's
my
contributing
response.
on every front
Michal,
so
hold
much
on.
more than you are.
Just to be clear, that's total nonsense,
No,
right?
it isn't.
One second, I'm not doing anything towards improving our future?
I'm doing more than should
How do
be
you
required
measure
of
when
me to
you're
do.
doing enough and when I'm not doing enough?
Because all I expect of you is literally one thing, and you don't do that thing.
What is that one thing?
Support me, so that I don't have to work.
That's kind of a big umbrella to throw things under.
You're right. It's so hard because I'm demanding billions of dollars out of you.
What, so it's just a number? There's a number somewhere, I expect this of you?
It's not a number.
Call me when you've got it?
I don't know.
It
Yeah,
feels like a little
maybe.
bit like a ransom, honestly.
Okay, well, if you're not willing to pay it, then maybe you should be married to someone else.
Is that a healthy dynamic? Say
I don't
like,
care. I'm
I
so
would like to
tired
hear.
of having these conversations with you. You
Michal,
think that I want?
Michal, give some room.
I'm so exhausted.
But you're partially exhausted because you are working so hard. You don't need
Because
to
that's
do
my
all
life
of
with
that.
him.
But you're
I can't
here
sit
with
back.
me.
I can't sit back.
You're
I always
here
have
with
to be in the
me.
driver's seat.
Can I ask you to pause?
Sure.
What do you think about that?
I would say that she's probably right, that I have a laissez-faire attitude, and I'm just generally comfortable with how things are. I just think that life is more manageable if you enjoy it. And I think that anyone who doesn't take it as a priority is just gonna fail miserably in one way or another.
How are you feeling?
Very, very angry. I've enabled you to relax and enjoy your life for the last decade. And now it's time for you to get up off your ass and start doing something and stop relaxing. Grow your damn law firm.
I am working on that.
I haven't seen you do anything. I feel so exhausted by this marriage. You know, it's like two people and they're in the race. And in order to get to the finish line, they both have to finish together,
Like a
right?
relay race.
Like you're tied to each
Three-legged
other.
race.
And I feel like our marriage is that I am running with all my might. I'm
I'm
running as
dead
fast
weight.
as I possibly can. And he's inching along, saying, it's okay, we'll get there. That has been our marriage, and I'm just tied to him.
Completely what I see right here.
Yes.
Yes. I see how hard you're working. I get it. Where are you?
He thinks it's hysterical.
No.
But you're still doing the work.
I'm like, in terms like this, I'm ready to just punch him in the face.
But you're doing so much work.
And it's
Let me do some
exhausting to
work.
me. Stop it. Why do you find this funny?
Why do you think I find this
I feel
funny?
like I just hate him so much. I can't stand being around him. I'm sitting here and I want to get somewhere and I want to fix it. And it's not as though I've sat back for the past 10 years of our marriage and said, you know what? I want more children, so I'm just going to sit around on my ass and eat bonbons and pop out kid after kid, and you figure out a way to support them. I've been there with him. I've been doing everything that I need to do. And what is he doing? He's laughing. He thinks that this is funny. I'm so tired of it.
I get it. I get it.
It's like, what is even the point? What's the point?
Can you let me do some of the work and you relax?
Yeah, okay.
So, how are you feeling when Michal is saying these things?
She's not wrong. Like, she's aware of the facts as well as I am. Like, the reason I was chuckling was I was imagining Michal running a 3-legged race with my son, and I could imagine her, like, dragging him along, not caring that he was, like, crying. And I feel like, yeah, I might lose the race if I ran with him, but I think he'd enjoy it more. It was more just like the absurdity struck me.
How do you feel when Michal is describing you as lazy, unable to pull your weight,
I mean, that hurts.
exploiting her?
I don't think I'm lazy. I think I worked pretty hard.
How do you feel?
I don't like that it hurts her, but I do like that she provokes me to do more and be better.
So there's something about this dynamic that's working for you.
Right, and that's probably unhealthy for me to just be like, well, that works for me.
What I'm trying to decipher is whether there's something about this kind of dynamic of being provoked that is enjoyable, pleasurable to you, or are you actually humiliated, or both?
I wouldn't say that it's pleasurable. I'd say that it's useful.
She's really well behaved when she's here with you. She listens, and I feel like there's an actual dialogue, and I feel like even when she's talking about her feelings, she communicates in a more effective way. But whenever we try to do it on our own, it's completely different.
Do you understand what Will is saying?
Yeah. I call bullshit.
Okay, but that's exactly the opposite of what I'm asking you. So let's just
This is
note.
why I don't tell you anything. Because
Right. So
according to you,
exactly.
everything I say, everything
So-
that comes out of my mouth is bullshit. So why bother?
Okay, well
Right,
then
so
don't
we'll-
then. Then shut up. Because
I'm
you're
sorry. What is this?
he likes to think that he is this person where, you know, I'm trying to communicate, I'm the peacemaker and blah blah blah. He is not. He is not.
Okay, so do you want to do therapy?
I thought that's what we were here for.
Okay, so abusing each other is not therapeutic.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
don't.
I'm trying not to, which is why
So,
I'm
ping,
on my best
ping,
behavior.
Look at me.
I am looking
and
at
try
you.
to follow my advice.
Okay.
What you're doing right now is destructive. It's not therapy. So just don't do it now.
I understand his frustration
With
with me. I understand that he doesn't know how to handle it when I get angry because he just sees the anger and he doesn't see what is underneath it.
in previous therapies, when you got to this point, what happened?
I'm not sure we've gotten this far.
We were allowed to kind of just fight with each other to the point where
That's
the
not
person's
helpful.
just like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you know, what do you want to do? At one point, I'm just
That's not what happened. Is you know, if the therapist said something you didn't like, then she gets triggered and she blows up, and we fire the therapist. So we still haven't figured out what I'm doing to trigger, like what that trigger is and what I'm triggering.
So let's try.
So I guess it all goes back to just being acknowledged as someone important in his life, right? And I think, yeah, a lot of that goes back to my own childhood.
Yeah. A lot of neglect.
A lot of neglect, a lot of, you know, no one telling me that I was good or smart or whatever. And it stays with you. The way that in which it plays out with us, with the lifestyle as an example, if we're embarking on this together, then we need to be a solid unit. We need to be a team. We need to be partners. But there's a part of me that always feels like, okay, well, I kind of feel like you're using me, right? To enjoy this lifestyle and everything that I need from you in order to feel special, to feel like a partner, I'm not getting.
Okay, so we talked about this a few weeks ago when we were talking about the choice to live kind of a non-monogamous
Right.
life, right? Which is interesting if one of your tender spots has to do with feeling not special, not seen,
Right.
right? You'd think that if you wanted to really address that fully, you'd want like a super monogamous, tight kind of relationship, right? So the choice to enter situations in which that is at play is interesting, right? That it's
Right.
like you're, in a way, you're setting up a situation to provoke yourself, which is interesting. It reminds me of what you said about Korea, that in a way you kind of have this, you orchestrate a certain plan, and then you set yourself up to feel left behind, not
Right.
thought of. So there is some way that you're kind of unconsciously creating these scenes for yourself where you get to revisit what has hurt you the most. You both seem suddenly quite sad. What's going on?
I feel like that lifestyle helped me kind of come out of my shell a little bit. And I thought by meeting him that I found a partner, that would see me and I think what makes me sad is I don't really think he sees me.
Well, I have a couple of thoughts, but first I want to say that these kind of early experiences of deprivation and neglect sit very deep, and there's a certain degree of being unseen that you're going to have to live with, in the sense that it's always going to be there. It's not like somebody else can come in and see you the way you needed to be seen then. So there's a certain pain that you're living with that this relationship can't fix.
I got, for our family, like a calendar, a whiteboard calendar, so that we can really keep track, because everyone's schedules is getting kind of crazy. And so everyone is a color, okay?
Nice.
So I said, Magnolia, pick your color. Vienna, pick your color. And then I said, Josh, pick your color. You can be any color. I don't know, should I be green?
This is Josh speaking?
Yes. I don't know, should I be blue? This is hard. It's hard for me to pick a color. And I said, I just need you to pick a color so that I can do what I need to do for our family. And then he said, fine, green. And then he excused himself to go downstairs. And I went downstairs and I said, are you okay? And he said, I just needed a moment.
You're laughing?
It's a fucking dry eraser color.
Well, I know. I actually think I said I don't care whatever color you want. I think is what I said, and you were like, no, I want you to choose. And then I was like,
Because I don't want to. That's extra work for me that I don't want to have to do.
Purple. I'm thinking
He
green or
should
purple.
just.
But it's hard to choose between green and purple.
Why can't you make a choice? Why? I mean, look where it got us when you couldn't make a decision about whether we should have a third child or not.
Can you, I mean, we can go back to the markers, but can you fill me in on this?
We talked about if we should have a third child or not.
Who was saying what?
I was saying I wanted to. He was ambivalent, but as we've talked about it further, was afraid to tell me no, or afraid to say, we need more time to think about it. He just didn't make a choice.
Wait, tell me your version of the story.
Well, this also is when when I first got emotionally involved with this person about 8 years ago. I think at that time I was very confused about a lot of things, and I've always worried about keeping you happy. I think probably at the time I knew it was something that was important to you. So it didn't feel like my question mark about it was stronger than how you were feeling.
The one thing that I have asked for in our marriage that I have said will make me happy is to talk with me about what he wants or what he thinks so that we can do things together. I just want him to include me in his questions. I don't need him to make a decision. I just want to be included.
But what you're asking for happens to be both difficult for Josh,
But then
also
he shouldn't have stayed in this marriage in the first place because I've been asking for it from the beginning.
Right, but the solution to that in your mind is for Josh
I don't know what the solution is. I'm
trying to talk to you.
Okay.
So you have a very clear, intense idea about what you need, which is to say, you want there not to be kind of a side stream where Josh lives separately, maybe in a somewhat vague state, while trying to make you happy. But the solution is not simply getting what you need.
Mm-hmm.
The solution has partially to do with you understanding how the intensity of your ask is affecting the field between the two of you.
But when will it become a conversation of, okay, well, but you have to look at the way that Molly engages in conversation or what she needs? You know, I just feel like...
Meaning that you're being asked to adjust to Josh's rhythm.
Yes.
But you don't feel like Josh is getting any kind of pressure to adjust to yours.
Yes. I do not know if Josh feels this feeling that he needs to make changes. And the unfortunate thing is, the way that I have chosen to scream and yell at him that he needs to do some fucking work himself has been by having my own relations with other people. It's like my way of screaming at the top of my lungs.
But the fact that you think that I haven't done anything, and that I haven't done any work or grown at all. First of all,
but I have asked repeatedly the same thing. And and every single time we get to sit on a couch and I need to understand who you are and how you're sensitive and this and
That's not true.
But
and it's not a fair statement.
Can I interrupt? Because what I feel like I'm doing with the two of you right now is actually putting pressure on Josh to articulate yourself much more clearly and to understand how you're thriving by relying on Molly's intensity.
I guarantee you he does not see it that way. And until you just said that, he did not realize that you were putting pressure on him to think that. I guarantee you. He is thinking, okay, she understands me. She really sees my authentic self. And my authentic self is who I am. And to change that would be unauthentic. It's not, she's not asking me to look at that and change it. She's really understanding it. And now I get to say, see, this is who I am. It's hard for me to make choices or blah, 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 blah. And I'm not supposed to not be my authentic self. Guarantee it.
Would you like to respond to that? Is that what's going on?
No. It seemed very clear to me at the beginning that as you were pressuring, asking Molly not to talk and continuing to ask me to go to try and figure out what was going on. Granted, this is something that happened 8 years ago, and since then, we've made a lot of tough choices together as a couple, together. We've made choices.
Josh, I was in a relationship for 5 years with someone else. And a year and a half ago, I was in a relationship with an ex-girlfriend. I am still screaming.
Yeah, but fuck that. Fuck that to say that, like, I mean, the way you're just saying it is like, if I had done something, you wouldn't have done those things.
That's not what I'm saying.
And that somehow if I had just gotten it right,
no,
you wouldn't have done those things. That's exactly what it sounds like.
It's not about getting it right. There's not a right.
I'm screaming at you to do what I'm asking you to do. Do it the way I want you to do
What
it.
am
I've
I
been
asking
screaming.
you to? What am I asking you to do?
Really? Is
I'm
this
asking-
really an interrogation? Is that how
I'm
we're
not-
going to do
no,
it?
Josh,
Where
I'm
you're
not-
saying, where
Josh,
you're
I'm
leading
not
me down the path to
I'm
get
not
me to the
I'm not
answer that you're hoping
no,
for?
I'm not interrogating you. I'm
It
trying to
feels
see
like
if you
it. It
hear.
feels like it.
I'm trying to see if you can repeat what I have been asking for years.
I could have been more present. I could have talked to you more about all the things that I was feeling, about the questions I was having.
So
about
why isn't that happening now?
It is happening now. It hasn't happened for the past week, but we've been talking so much more deeply about everything for, it is happening. What do you mean it's not happening?
I'm like so bothered right now that you're sitting there like that with this attitude that like I am being ridiculous and interrogating you when all I am saying to you is I don't think that you have been doing the work that you say you have.
Okay, we're gonna have to stop because we've run out of time. And hopefully we can pick up from here.
Just feeling like hopeless about our future, hopeless about like where we can meet. It was hard to hear you say that like you're still so angry at me when like you know everything about me. And it just feels like none of that means anything to you.
What would it sound like if it did mean something to Brock?
I feel like if Brock understood me, you wouldn't be saying things like, I just need you to promise that that will never happen again. Like, I need you to, like, make that covenant, really.
But if Brock is saying, I don't feel safe when I ask you to not hurt me, and you do that, I can't trust you that you won't hurt me. What are you doing with that information?
I hear that as Brock wanting to return to the systems and things that have given him comfort. A world in which men control women. And I have subverted that order, and it makes him scared. And so instead of transcending that, he wants to revert back.
That's possible. I don't know if that's Brock's experience. Is that?
No, especially because like I asked you to talk about open the marriage. Like,
yeah, but not for me. That's because you wanted to assuage your own anxieties, because I wouldn't give you that promise. Like, I feel like Brock's suggestion of that is trying to shortcut some deeper healing that I think that needs to happen. And also, that feels unproductive. I'm not going to do it.
Okay, so I'm registering what you're saying. Can you articulate what matters to you?
yeah, I just want to know that in this partnership that we're committed to not hurting each other.
I refuse to commit to that because that's not what a partnership,
But then that's not a partnership I want to be
okay,
in.
fine, then you want a partnership that doesn't exist. You want a mirage.
How, what are you, like, you don't want to open the relationship, and yet you don't want to commit to me, and that
Because
makes me
I'm
anxious.
trying to be honest. I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to move towards a new way of thinking about partnership with you.
What does your new version of the partnership look like? You keep talking about transcending to something else. What is it?
It's fluid.
Okay, fluid to me means open.
That is not what.
But Chrissy, what does fluid mean to you?
Fluid means that you accept risk, that you are okay with a love that could hurt you.
But like,
It's real.
I know, but that the risk is after the commitment. Without the commitment, there's
You're
no.
talking about relationships like they're a math formula. Like,
Christy, can I ask you to let go of contempt? and try to actually have a conversation, you need to show up for this. The two of you are having a real issue. I mean, you're hoping that the resolution will come from Brock understanding you. But there are two people here. You have to extend the same degree of understanding.
I know, Orna, like, I have. I really feel like I have.
I need to see it. I need to see it. So I can understand what's the impasse. What do you hear Brock saying?
I'm hearing from you that it's not possible to cheat in an open relationship, which is not true.
That's not,
but
okay.
Sorry. Relieve yourself of your own opinions for a minute and just try to understand. What is Brock saying?
It's like he's asking for something that he already has.
Which is?
A commitment to not hurt him. I love him. I actively try not to hurt the people that I love. It doesn't mean that, like, I won't do it. But, like, you already have that from me. That's what love is. I don't know what more you want.
Can you respond to that?
Just a commitment that we're not going to cheat on each other.
What is the cost to you? Say it in full terms. What is the cost to you of saying, I will not do that again?
Just the pain of everything that this has been to us. To reduce it to that, to think that that is the out, is to just promise it'll never happen again. The cost is the pain. And that pain was really worth something to me.
It was worth something to me too, Kiz.
Say, what do you mean by that?
What I learned from it was that we can recommit to each other and we can stretch our marriage to the needs of ourselves as partners, but we work together to do that. Like, we don't just decide one night, you know what, fuck it, I need this, I'm taking it. Like, that's not how I view commitment.
All I hear when you talk is my grandpa's voice. Because that was the one thing that he said. Do you remember? We sat on the couch and he was going to marry us. He said that's the number one thing, that's the most important thing, is commitment. Not love, not compassion, not forgiveness.
Right.
Commitment.
No,
that is not the most important thing to me. And it's the old ways to me. To me, that's the old ways.
Okay, then let's open the relationship.
No!
What the
Unbelievable.
Brock, can you
Sorry.
No, I think what you might want to try is use a different language.
My concerns are, I don't want to be blindsided like that again. I can't. And if that is hanging over me, I won't be able to fully be with you.
Well, I won't make you that promise again. So I guess we're open and you can do what you want. I won't make that promise.
Okay. That's fine.
Do what you want.
What does that resolve? That resolves for you, Brock?
I don't know what it resolves. The reason that I wanted an open marriage is because she's not going to commit to me. So I am not going to promise to her.
Right, that's what it sounds like, that it's some kind of, I don't know, secondary deal.
Kind of.
That none of you will be happy with.
Probably. It's a great win, isn't it?
You know, this dilemma between the need for predictability and safety that you're each expressing in your own way, and the need for some kind of freedom is always there in a relationship. And there's some way that your histories and the way the church lives there that is making it very difficult to sit in a place where you're each owning both sides of it. It gets repeatedly split between the two of you.
And I feel like I get put in the box of the church, in the box of patriarchy, in the box of family. Like I become the stand-in for all of that. So like my opinions, it's almost like when they travel to her, they pick up all of this historical trash along the way. They get to her ear, and then it's not about me anymore. Now it's about broader things.
And you? What then gets put all into you?
I fear about losing ground that I've fought so hard to claim. And so I'm just on a high alert for being manipulated back into that. I don't think I've ever been able to trust the things that I love.
I guess I expect more than I'm getting.
Expect. You're using a very particular word. You're not saying I long for, you're saying I expect, which means that sets up Rod to fail.
Okay.
You expect, and then the person fails you. So that's already a dynamic that is toxic for the two of you.
Because then I get a response.
But what does he expect? If you were expecting, what does he expect?
I don't know what I don't know what I want.
That's important.
I'm not sure
But
what I
you
want.
know you're disappointed.
Because, right.
And none of you even know what's missing.
Not even close.
Yeah. You don't know what you want. You don't know what is expected. Both of you just know it fails.
Correct.
Meaning there's nothing there, really. This is like some cover-up for something else.
Yes.
Okay. But the reason I sometimes choose to avoid these conversations is maybe because they're difficult. And dare I say anything about finances, and that's it. That's, you know,
But
that's
it's not.
Hold on.
Okay. Sorry.
There's a lot of pressure on me. If you wanted me, I wanted myself. It's not bad to kind of, you know, be more successful for a second. But when you deliver it with that, you know, jab, it feels, ugh.
It feels what?
It feels...
Feels what? What does it feel?
It feels like a
feels
jab.
like- Okay,
look,
but
right now,
I'm asking you nicely.
But the anger's manifesting right now. I mean, you get...
It's not. I'm not, Rod.
Okay.
I'm really not.
Okay.
Well, you sound angry.
Okay.
You sound frustrated. You
Because I
don't-
feel like, okay, because
You do not sound like you want to hear what it feels like.
I do want to hear it.
So do
just-
something with
okay.
your demeanor that invites that.
You just witness it. She triggers so quickly. And it's like, whoa, it's not, again,
Well,
it's just...
did you see what I did?
Yeah, you did, absolutely.
You can do that.
We need to tackle our issues.
What does that mean?
We need to talk about our finances. We need to get help and figure out what we need to do together.
Do you want to try talking about finances?
Sure.
Go ahead.
We know the answer. We
Okay.
need to make more income, that's the answer. We can't cut back on anything because there's not nothing to cut back on. We need to bring in more. There are things you spend on, I don't, and it's another X amount here, another X amount there. And we don't have conversations about that. All of a sudden I see, wow, $700 out in the bank, where'd that go?
What are you talking about?
You went to get your eyes tested last couple weeks ago and you spent $700.
But you know, it's once a year that I go and I get my eyes checked. I'm not going to justify that. I'm not. And this is where I get angry. Because this is where, like, that's the conversation we're having.
It just came up. It wasn't conscious. I wasn't.
What conversation do you want to be having?
You wanted to talk about money, and there's a conversation about money. It just.
So why didn't you talk to me about it then? Why did you have to wait? Like, if there's something bothering you.
So, if you want Rod to talk to you more, you have to make the conversations inviting.
Okay.
If you're going to keep being angry, you're not going to have that thing you want.
What triggered the anger?
Because I've taken a lot of time away to be with our daughter. And I don't regret 1 minute. I'm thrilled that I've been home. But we lost a lot of money when I was home. So now it's like catch up.
But it sounds like you were regretful for the last decade.
And then when he says something like that, I'm not interested to talk to him about it because because it is so, it's so condescending. You're in a job, so I'm frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it's the same dialogue over and over again. Years of it, because I feel like it's so suppressed for so long on the reality, on how much it hurts.
What hurts?
I don't know what I'm saying. I don't. I really don't.
agree.
I really don't. I don't know how to communicate. I don't know what to say. I just think that you can apply yourself so much more, and you don't. And maybe this is who you are. And like, this is who I am. Anxious and angry over performance.
Over whose performance?
Rod's, because I didn't have a performance. I took too much time off. And that's what I'm angry at. I'm angry at myself.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's so honest. I can't be any more honest. And yes, I expect a lot from you.
Over the last decade, that's how old her daughter is. I've stepped
What did you just hear Allison say?
But he didn't. Okay,
Hold
sorry.
What did you just hear Allison
She's
say?
admitted that she's upset with herself for taking so much time off.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, true and deep.
And hard.
Yeah. But I didn't acknowledge it. I heard it, but I didn't acknowledge it.
Right.
But also because of that, we have an awesome kid, and you're an awesome mum. So you have to also give yourself a pat on the back for, it might not be in the bank, but it's certainly in life experiences.
That's great, but not the point.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, it's not. Doesn't feel good. I feel the same way, Nico. If I could lay on the floor, I would do the same. I would do the same exact thing right now on the sisal rug. I would lay right like that. Now that's how I feel.
Is there a warm up? Do we ease into things? No small talk. We don't do small.
You'd prefer to small talk. You want to jump right in.
I hate small talk. It's my least favorite thing. I think it's because small talk is a way to cover discomfort. I would rather just start. It's making me think about, like, if we're sitting on the couch, right? And Josh will go like, right? And I'm just like, just like kiss me or something. It's like that.
Small talk.
100%. 100%.
Come on, I'm not that. I'm not
No,
that.
I know, but I'm just saying. It's
But
like
small
the first
talk.
time we kissed. It's like the first time we kissed.
Sure.
I was like, just do what you're gonna just do it. It's
So you're
almost
coming
like,
at the situation rather than.
yes.
Josh, what is it like for you to be on the receiving end of that?
I feel pressure to present the answer that she is looking for. I mean, I guess I think it's disconcerting to Molly. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
But you're going back to Molly. I'm asking you about your experience.
Can you be more
Did you notice
specific?
that I asked you a question about being on the receiving end.
Yeah, I guess, which is why.
And you went back
talked
to
about it.
discomfort in Molly. I mean, it's good for you to
Oh, that
notice.
she felt that way rather than how I might have felt
Yeah.
about it. Okay.
Yeah, really important for you to notice that move.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, can you talk a little bit about your history?
Sure. I grew up in Connecticut till I was about 10. We went to church. We had the red door and the white house and all, you know what I mean? We were like the picket fence. Like, we didn't actually have a picket fence, but like it was like that kind of like out of a. And my mom met somebody that she worked with, and they fell in love.
At
I
what point?
I was 8, and the affair lasted for about 1.5 years, I think. My dad found out about it at some point and confronted her over the course of the next year, my mom was gone a lot at night. She would come home late. It seemed, I don't know if she did, but in my memory, she was always gone. We had this bay window in the front of the house and this big curtain that closed and then the carpet. And I could climb out onto the bay window and sit behind that curtain. And so that was like my spot, kind of waiting for my mom to come home. This is the image that I have. My sister upstairs on the phone. She's in junior high. I'm sitting in the bay window. My dad's at the dinner table with the cold dinner, waiting for my mom to come home.
Whoa.
His father had said that he will go to his grave shaking his head and in not understanding, in just not knowing.
How did it happen?
How did
What do you mean?
Like, I think he couldn't believe that she would leave him. So I think it's his own. I think a little bit of his own ego. I think he couldn't see his part. That he had maybe not given her what she really needed, what she was, longing for.
What are you thinking?
I mean,
which of course is ironic because here Molly's asking for what she really needs, and I'm having a hard time potentially causing.
But the two of you are living with that script in the background. Conflict leads to like the ultimate breakup, an abandonment.
Yeah. I don't know, the notion of like sitting in that window, like when I think about that kid, I'm like I identify with characters in stories that are good at hiding to survive, right? Like kids, like the kids
behind the curtain.
Yeah, sure. Kids in the story who hide from the monster instead of fight it.
It's upsetting, but it also seems relevant to something between the two of you. Do you hear that?
I do think that when I was spending time with other people, I do feel like he was
waiting behind the curtain.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
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 I could get her to do whatever I want. That's not what I want. What I want is for her to do whatever I want without me having to make it happen. To just, I want to get a glass of water before I ask, and it's there waiting. And that...
Can I ask you something?
Of course.
Did you ever have anybody take care of you like that?
No.
That sounds really maternal. That sounds like, a mother-infant bond. Yes, we have our moments with lovers where that can happen, but I don't know. That's just what occurred to me when you were saying it.
That's a pretty profound thing to say.
Really? Not a fairly obvious, distracting, insignificant?
I'll go with profound.
What is profound about that? How is that profound? The drawing that parallel? Is it? I mean, that's like I'm sure if you open up one of these books, it's on the first fucking page.
I'm just wondering if you're aware of how quickly you move to devaluation. Do you know that?
I think that I don't care how quickly I move to devaluation.
Whether you care about it or not, I just
am I aware
see
that
if
sometimes
you're
I
aware
move quickly to devaluation? Yes.
But I'm also noticing how difficult it is to actually meet you. I notice even in the way I'm talking to you that it's very hard to get it right. Like when I try to say back to you what's going on, what I just heard, it's never right. And when you correct me, I can see why you're correcting me. I understand the nuance and where I missed the point.
That's very frustrating for me.
What
Yes,
I want to hear is why is the moment where someone is not just right, why is that so devastating? That's
I don't know that
yours.
it's devastating. I think it's...
See, you did it just then.
Right.
Devastating
Right.
is not quite the right word, and you're going to correct
Right.
devastating, and you can't
Right.
see that devastating
Right. That's okay.
might have
Well, it is simply not devastating. That is not a proper use of that word. in any of the word. I mean, unless you're being hyperbolic, and I don't know what the point of that would be. If the point was
I
clarity.
wasn't being hyperbolic. I'm actually assuming that in some way.
How about deeply inconvenient?
No, I don't think it's inconvenient. I think there's a much more emotional underlying structure to this.
Okay. How can we quickly determine whether that's true or not?
You can ask yourself if you want to take something of what I'm saying to see if it's useful to you, or if you want to spar with me. If you don't want to spar with me, we don't have to discuss the accuracy. We just have to see if it's useful, what I'm saying, whether it's accurate or not.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know that I've ever been devastated in any prior event when that occurred, including my birthday. I didn't feel devastated.
You said disappointed.
I was disappointed.
Okay, so go with that.
There, a breakthrough.
We had a big fight on Saturday because we were like picking up the house, and I was making the bed, and she like was doing something at the vanity, and she threw a piece of trash onto the bed while I was making it, and like she didn't realize I was making the bed, even though I was right next to her, and like I was like, for real? She's like completely unaware of what's going on around her.
Yeah, it's true.
It's bonkers.
I am like taking care of myself. I'm also taking care of Sarah. Like I'll normally make the coffee and like that, like in that argument, she said in a tone that somehow that just set me off. Because it sets me off in a very defensive way, and I don't react well to it.
You said last week that you would like to figure out a way to become less defensive.
Yeah. I go down a rabbit hole with it. Like I start feeling like she's looking at me as if I'm a bad partner, and then I know that's what I'm saying. Like this is the problem.
Wait.
Yeah, and I mean that's.
She's looking at me as if I'm a bad partner. Keep going.
And while she's cleaning up, I'm just kicking up my feet and fucking around, and that really sucks.
Do you always go to the same place?
I think so.
So what is that place? How do you think you are in that moment? Who Sarah's viewing you like?
That she's fed up.
That she's fed up with you because you're
not what she wants me to be.
Like, what do you think that's what's in that for you?
I mean, I think a lot of it stems from my ex-wife.
How?
I feel like I tried really hard to be a good partner.
You tried what?
I mean, I tried to be what she wanted me to be.
Which is?
I mean, for her, it was a man. And I truly tried to do that. I tried everything I could for a long time. And then, like, you know, I used to have these kinds of fights with her. And I think it was like I'm trying so hard, and you pick at me for small things when I'm trying to give you everything.
When actually I'm making an enormous effort. Forget about these small things. I'm actually trying, I guess in the case of your wife, to be someone I can't be.
Yeah.
Or someone that negates me.
Yeah.
I feel even more in love than before. It's true. I told them, again, this is worth it. So.
What would you say?
Well, I don't know. Like he brought that up the other day. He said, "No, I feel more in love with you," and I kind of just giggled because, you know, it's sweet. It's a sweet thing to say, and I think that, you know, falling more in love is a great thing. But there is a part of me that kind of feels like there's going to be a lot of things that come up in a relationship that's going to last a substantial amount of time that are significant situations.
But are you worried that if things get really tough, Gianni will leave? Is that what you're saying? You're not sure Gianni will stick around if it gets deep and turbulent?
I guess I've just been through a lot more in relationships, and this is what he says to be his first real significant relationship. Some of that is, I feel like you have like a very black and white line of what would be acceptable, what is not, how a relationship should be, how it shouldn't be.
Last year, our relationship was not acceptable at all.
Right.
And I stayed.
Stuck it out big time.
Yeah. I don't know why you have this fear now.
If we had to phrase what you're saying in the form of a worry, what's your worry about Gianni?
I guess looking at our relationship and saying, you know, this is going to be the relationship that takes us to the end of our time. At the root of it, I need to feel like we've got each other's back.
But are we talking about a very basic feeling of trust?
I guess. Because it's not trust issues like he's having, like, oh, you're gonna.
It's not like sleeping with someone else.
It's at the very core, like.
There's no way to resolve this question, but just a way to think about it is that trust gets built over time, and the capacity to trust is not only dependent on who you're with, it depends on your history, right? When you have like a lot of trauma in your history, trust is not an obvious thing at all. So it's going to come up when you're in a real relationship. It's going to come up again and again.
Mm-hmm.
When we were first married, the first few years of our life, I was so excited every time he would come home. Sometimes I would wait for him by the window like a puppy, like waiting for him to get home. And I just feel like over the years, so much resentment and so much disappointment has built up. It's very hard for me to just be jovial and happy and carefree. When he says to me that when he feels that I'm agitated, it's hard for him to come toward me.
Right.
So it's almost as if I can never get what I need out of him, because when I'm upset and when I'm agitated and when I'm frustrated and when I'm angry, it's when I need him the most, but I'm the least able to express it. And he's the most likely to take that step back and say, I don't want to go near you with a 10-foot pole because you're clearly upset right now.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be the person to say to him, will you give me a hug? Because I don't want a hug from him because I'm angry at him.
But if you get a hug from him, how will that get in your way?
Maybe it'll make me feel in some way as though I'm rewarding him, or make him feel like everything is copacetic when it's clearly not.
So you're kind of doing a star system. Yes.
You are not getting a check on the 10th day, and you do not get to stay home from work. Don't get any ideas.
The star system never worked on me as a kid.
It doesn't really work.
I feel like it also expresses itself sexually.
I was just going to ask, actually, because
he'll
that's
tell
often
me,
the next arena.
Yeah, I get very frustrated that he doesn't initiate things. I'll say to him, I'm like, you don't have to do very much. Like, all you have to do is just show me a little bit of affection, and that'll be enough. Like, I'll fill in all the rest of the gaps.
Yeah.
But he won't do that. He'll never take that first step. Never. In 11 years of marriage, never happens.
It's not true.
It's like you are asking me to be that person.
Listen, part of what you're doing, in a way, might be a clue to what goes on sexually and in other domains. You are doing all the work. You've asked the question, you've answered already what his response is, you're doing it all. So, but then you're saying, where is he? Right? So let's ask,
Where are you?
What are your thoughts?
Are you even here?
I think so.
What are your thoughts? First of all, how are you feeling?
Well, you know, it's upsetting, a little uncomfortable. I think there's like a baseline fear that I'm upsetting her or that she's angry at me. She'll say like, hey, I'm just sitting here on Netflix. You could just like jump my bones. And it's just like, no, I'm like,
You have no idea what you're gonna get.
Like, I don't want to jump into a bear trap that like might be okay.
I put a real live bear trap and I wait for him to walk into it and then
Right, exactly.
Right.
I would say
Right.
most of the time I bring up a topic of conversation, I feel like it's shot down for some reason. That creates a bedrock
A baseline of kind of expecting to be rebuffed or criticized.
Yeah, a baseline of just like being careful where I tread.
Okay. That's good information for you. But to go back to the original business of like initiation, what ends up happening is the more agitated, anxious, and in a way rejecting you are, the more you retreat.
Right.
Right? The more you retreat, the more agitated you are. So that's it. That's your dance.
Right.
Right? So if we translated that into what you each could do to make somewhat of a difference and see if we can get any traction with that, what would be a way for Michal to position herself differently with you?
I mean, really.
In a way that would be less scary.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, the truth is I'm never scared of Michal. Like, I
That's
love her.
not true.
It's what I mean is that, like, when I'm scared, it's like scared to engage. Like,
Right. So how can Michal position herself differently so you feel
Right.
less scared to engage?
Well, the truth is, if she were to greet me with a smile, that would be like a mile in the right direction. Like,
I always agree with. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm constantly
Okay,
smiling
so
at you.
wait.
That's
So
not how it
that's-
feels. It feels like when I walk home, like I have to like sort of take a deep breath, walk into the room.
Oh, that
and like
sucks.
there's gonna be some like first of all, just I don't mean this as a rant, but like I don't think there's a day I come home that you don't tell me about something terrible that happened that day. You got to realize that like when I walk through the door, the first thing I'm getting is bad news. Michal's probably in a bad mood. And maybe just leave her alone or try to engage like politely and carefully without upsetting her. And like I'll do that and then it'll start getting on like buttons I shouldn't be touching. And then you just sort of tell me to leave like that.
So would it be an okay ask for you to move towards the areas that Michal is most agitated about? Let's say you are imagining, I'd like to have a really nice, relaxing evening later on. Let me start off by actually asking a question about what really makes Michal anxious. So how are we doing with the finances? What are your thoughts about it today?
Well, I don't know if I can really bring those topics up.
I would love for you to talk about that stuff. I feel like
Go
you ignore
I feel like you
in.
get angry when I talk about those things.
Well, then bring it back here and we will discuss that because that's
Okay.
your homework.
Okay.
And for you, when Michael comes home, to spend half an hour just having a benign, pleasant interaction.
Yes, yes, and improvisational here. Yes, and can we also have an half an hour talking about things that are more practical?
Sure, I think that's perfect.
Fine, deal.
Deal. Forged in blood.
With the therapist spit.
Right.
So it came up yesterday. While I was out with a friend, Nadine went to see one of her lovers without telling me. I felt that a boundary was crossed because there was no communication about her going to see them. And this isn't the first time a boundary has been crossed with this particular person. And so the primary thing I say when we're really not getting along and I'm really struggling to establish boundaries or feeling like boundaries are not being honored is to say, let's move apart.
You need to move out and let's move apart are very different energies.
Yeah, okay. You need to move out. It's been
my experience was a little different.
Tell me.
That person, they had gotten their period, they weren't feeling well. I asked them if they wanted weed. It was a literal 4-second interaction, like boom, boom, bye. Because I was so afraid of what it would create in the home. I said, hey, this is what happened. And then immediately, you need to move out. I mean, the energy was not calm and cool and collected. And mind you, I'm like in the bathtub. So like, I'm like trying to like have a conversation and trying to relax or whatever. So then it's just like this very intense conversation. And it even like the way
What happens in the conversation?
you know, I was like, my feelings are growing deeper and I express all that so I could understand why.
My feelings are
for the other person.
More than that, there were very particular words that were said.
Okay. I might be like, it might be a love thing, you know, that I might be feeling. And then I feel like I can't even, I don't know what to do with myself with how I'm feeling towards this person, what it's creating in the home.
What does what to you?
I feel like I'm a bad partner, I'm a bad lover, I'm a bad everything, and all I do is hurt people, and this is what I'm doing to her, and it was literally like going under the water because I felt like I had no place.
You had nowhere to go where
Yes.
you didn't feel Christine's feelings.
Yeah. And sometimes it almost feels like you're responding in a disproportionate way because I feel like you don't like this process at all. Like you don't want to be open, you don't want to be poly, you hate it, and now like I'm just having to like sit here with you hating this relationship.
If I may. Sometimes I feel like I have to over-exaggerate my response to say, this is a boundary. We cannot keep pushing them, we cannot keep crossing them. I do not feel safe when that happens. And it's mostly based in fear and grief. I feel a devastating amount of grief. But
tell me about that.
Just in the sense of her having feelings for someone else. When you say, I'm not okay with open, that's no longer true. But I thought it would be more playful. I didn't think it would be as serious as it is, where we have committed relationships with other people. And whatever you have said, I say, I might struggle with it, but I'm always like, okay, let's do it.
I was
'cause
also
love you.
concerned that if I were to do that, you'd be like, okay, well, you're not going to see them.
I'm not
the
a
next
crazy
day.
person.
Christine. No, I don't think you're a crazy
But
person.
hold on. But let's say Christine says, if you're going to do this, if you want to go see her today or them today, I don't want you to see them tomorrow. What is the problem with that?
I think I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Okay. So
and that's a
there's-
theme of our relationship, I feel like. I want to feel like a priority, but sometimes I feel like I can't ask for anything, and even if you're violating our own agreements that we're making, you still do what you want, and I have to acquiesce constantly. Just like, whatever, what can I do? Oh, that's Nadine, she's just gonna do her thing.
Can I
Yeah, please go.
ask you to pause for a second? You said a lot, meaningful stuff. First of all, how are you feeling just hearing it?
I feel like when you tell me you want structure and predictability, I'm like, sweetheart, that is, not only has that not me, that has never been me. I've always been like very upfront about that. Like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. You know, it's just this kind of thing that I've noticed about myself. It moves a lot. And not,
What was it like as a little person, as a young person?
I don't know.
You don't know because you don't
I don't
remember?
really remember, and what I do remember, I was just really chaotic and unhappy.
What was the chaos early on?
So my parents divorced, they remarried, they each had 2 more kids at the same time when I was 10. That totally disrupted my, that upended many things. And so I felt like both of my families had a family, and I was not part of either of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that anytime something was wrong in one family, they would say, go to the other family. It seemed just like that.
So kind of displaced.
Yes.
Homeless.
Oh, emotionally, just totally discarded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said you had to move out.
What?
Sorry, I
it's
said you
okay.
had to move out. How terrible. Yeah, I'm just like being your parent again.
Yeah. And I feel like I can't escape.
Oh, man.
You can't escape.
Feeling unwanted, feeling like, God damn, like if I feel a touch of like someone doesn't want me in this space, that'll just set me off. Not in like an explosive way, but just like I'll leave. I don't want to be there. Especially when I don't know what I'm doing. I do not know what I'm doing. I don't know. I feel like so many people are trying to be open and polyamorous and all these things, and I don't know how to navigate it.
So I guess one question, what is motivating the two of you to be together?
Oh. Okay. I love everything that she brings to my life. I mean, totally as if she took, like, as if I was like this, and then she gave me glasses, and I was like, I felt like I could see the world. And there's no one I'd rather talk to, there's no one I'd rather bounce ideas, like, you know, it's just really rich and like deeply spiritual and connected. And like, I feel that like deeply in every cell of my body. Like there's no mistake about that. And I feel like she's supposed to be my life, or I want her to, at the very least, to be my life in a long-term way.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's more you ask for help a lot, and I give you a lot of help, but I get treated as though I don't help you with anything. I feel like I'm just seen as somebody who's lacking.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask, how does this repeat in your family of origin situation?
My household, my experience as a child, all the way up until my mom got sick, was that she was hardly ever there. You know, it wasn't like we sat at the dinner table and had dinner as a family.
Mm-hmm.
My mom rarely ever made it home at dinner time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my parents, they existed in two totally different worlds. And for my dad, his world revolved around his friends and his family, and my mom's world revolved around her career. And my mother, I guess in a lot of ways, looked at him and was like, why don't you want more? And he, like me, was like, I'm happy. So what do I need more for? I'm already happy. Whereas my mom
was
there
more
was
ambitious.
Always another level to achieve.
It sounds like you're describing like me and you for some odd reason.
We married our
It's kind of
parents.
scary a little bit.
It is us.
Literally. I kind of almost get lost thinking, are you talking about your mom or are you talking about me?
I mean, the reality is my parents met when they were in their 20s. My dad became a carpenter. My mother initially was a teacher. She decided that career wasn't enough, decided to go to law school when she was pregnant with me, and then became an attorney, and then it became a partner, and then kept climbing, and then she died. So, like, I love my mother and gave her everything that I had to give her as her child. And it still resulted in her death and her absence from my life. I have 4 children. They will never know my mother. It wasn't more important to her to get well and be present than it was to work. And I watch you pick work as though your job gives 2 shits about what happens to you. That's the disconnect for me. I will never
You're
understand
carrying so much sorrow.
I'll never understand people who choose things that will never... Nobody remembers you for your work. My mom was a partner at the law firm. I could walk into that office right now, and even though my last name is on the wall and there's a plaque of my mom up there, I could walk in and nobody would know who I am. Knowing that my children...
Can I say something? So, Sean, in addition to these thoughts about what's important in life, I think what you're also telling Erica is that you are full of sorrow from what happened, from the remains of how your mom lived. How are you listening to that?
Well, it makes me upset for him. But on the flip side, I don't know how to qualify, I guess, personal success. With work, it's easy. It's on a piece of paper. It's on a paycheck. I just don't know how to attach it to the family dynamic, I guess.
You know, there's something interesting that happens psychologically with people. People tend to repeat their histories, right? You live it as a child, and then you have your life as an adult, and you unconsciously set out to repeat. And Sean, it might be that your expectation was always that you're going to find yourself again in a similar situation where your wife is going to get busy. Maybe you even chose someone who is prone to go in that direction. And in a way, repeat the same thing you had with your mom. But it also could be that with that expectation, you took over all the domestic, paternal responsibilities, unconsciously kind of already setting the stage for that to happen. You might need to kind of take an angle against just repetition and try to break the cycle. Both of you.
I have caught him in like little lies like that, or being dishonest.
But let's talk about the dishonesty or the lies.
Yeah.
You're saying that part of the reason you lie is you don't want to face judgment and critique and conflict.
Correct.
Let's say you decide you don't want to lie and you're going to be saying something that Evelyn doesn't approve of. You're going to be hanging out with someone Evelyn doesn't trust, or hanging out for 7 hours at a bar. Your wife disapproves of you, and you're still standing there being honest. So what's your alternative if you don't want to lie about it, if you want to go about it in another way?
So you want me to play it out, or?
For example, yeah. What if you did that now? Let's see what happens.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the contact that I have with people that I meet. It's never something that you think it is or fear that it might be. And you need to trust that. Because it's going to continue to happen, and I don't want there to be this pattern of just like an issue every time I meet somebody.
Wait. What you're doing right now is different, because what you're doing right now is you're trying to manage Evelyn's disappointment. Let her be upset.
Okay.
You be true to yourself and let her be.
Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with what I'm doing. And I would hope that you would realize that, so we can stop having disagreements about things like this.
All right, you're still managing her.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, just stay with yourself. Just stay with yourself. I don't feel like there's something wrong with what I'm doing. I see that you're upset, but I don't think there's anything wrong with what I'm doing. I'm okay with having these contacts. You respond to that.
Honestly.
Honestly.
You don't see anything wrong with the contact? No, I'm not. I'm just like trying to rethink this. I guess initially it would come across maybe like a little selfish. You know, like, oh, okay, he just wants to.
He wants to do what he wants to do.
Do what he wants to do, right? And maybe that's more important.
More important than?
Right, than I guess our relationship or my feelings.
Let's hear your feelings.
I guess for me, it feels like maybe I need to do that more.
Do what you want to do.
Right. But then I feel like then we might as well be living two different lives and just cohabitate.
Well,
Like,
if you
kinda
don't
like
really
that.
want to do anything together, if the honest truth is you don't want to do anything together, well, then that's a good question. But I think if this issue of avoidance and honesty is at the moment like the core issue that you've put on the table here, the first thing you need to do is be able to bear the truth. Right now, you need to say the truth, and you need to see the truth.
There was some stuff on the table, her paperwork or something. It's been there for a couple days. Now it's driving me nuts. So instead of me saying anything negative, I bunched it up and smiled. Like, look what I put here for you. It's been a couple days now. And she threw something in my face about, like, when I do the laundry, I fold it and you don't put it away right away. Like, and that got me upset because something so simple of just putting something away, you know, why do you have to sit there and fight me? Why does it have to get to a point of Now we have to face off.
Okay, and then what happened?
So
Then I grabbed the stuff, I put it in the room, and I said, okay, I'm sorry, I won't leave my things on the table anymore. And then I went into the bathroom to continue to get ready for work, and there he goes following me to say the same thing. But I don't understand why you got so upset. It's over with now, Drew.
she says it like, oh, I apologize, and he's still up my ass about it. No. The way she apologizes is basically a silent, shut the fuck up, leave me alone, get out of my face.
So I'm hearing on both of your ends, you're not really not wanting to actually hear each other out, right?
I want to say that I want to hear her. Like, I want to know, I want to get down to the root. Why, what makes you get that upset? Like, what flipped the switch on you?
Okay, let's try that. Let's try that. Why don't you ask, Tashi?
Okay, so what
Because
flips the
when it
switch?
comes to house things, I have asked you a million times to do a lot of things, and you don't do them. And I just gave up asking you.
Okay. Do I ever get upset like you do, like you did this morning?
Hold on,
When
hold
asking
on.
me to do something.
Did you get an answer?
All I got was that you do it, so it's okay for me to do it.
I heard a little more than that. What else did you hear?
That basically, I don't know why you're asking me to do this when I asked you to do things and you don't do them. Well, that's why I was trying
Right,
to reply.
that there's some resentment. Tashi's holding some resentment about trying to get you to do certain things in the house that you haven't done, that she
Yes.
wants you to do.
Yeah.
So you got an answer. What are you doing with that information?
I don't know.
I'm not sure you're actually processing it as information, as an answer to your question. So, do you actually have any interest in learning new information from the other person, or do you want to keep chewing on your resentments?
No, I'm always trying to get down to the root.
You're not trying to get down to the root.
I would love to.
But you have the option right now, and
Yeah.
you're not doing it. And I will ask Tashi to do the same thing for you. How do you contribute to your conversations disintegrating?
I probably shut down, and I probably give him a bang too. Once he gives me a bang, I give him another bang.
Meaning?
Meaning, like, if he'll say something that's insulting to me, I'll just say something insulting back.
So a lot of retaliation?
Yes. But then if I bring it up, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Bring it up at a separate time?
That would be very wise. Yes, if you want to stop the cycle of retaliation or this kind of ping pong, yeah, for sure. But you also have to give up the wish to win and retaliate.
I guess it's me holding on to resentment, and it's me just angry that I kind of got pushed into this life. All I do is cook, clean, I go to work, I take care of the kids. And when it's not done, you can shake your head all you want.
I'm staying quiet.
Dibby, that's
Continue,
just
continue.
how I feel. I was pushed. This
You were
like
pushed?
this housewife life was not what I necessarily intended for myself. It just all happened so quickly. I mean, I was a single mom. I was living my life. Now I have 2 kids. I practically have a husband. And I feel like that's what he wanted all his life. He wants his family, he wants his wife, he wants all these things. And sometimes it's heavy. Sometimes it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot of responsibility. And I feel like sometimes I do it all.
So let's just maybe artificially separate out the idea that you do more than you need to be doing and whether you want to be doing it at all.
I don't know if I want to be doing it at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the little small things
Tell
that
me.
make me smile.
We live in the small things.
I
Tell me.
know.
He really is living in it.
I actually forgot it was Monday, and I usually Monday water the plants, and he did that. It was like, of course I did it because it's Monday. I was like, oh my god, that's sweet. And then we went to the park, and he was like, I want to be more spontaneous, so let's do what you want to do. So you follow me, I made suggestions, and we did it, and it's been really nice.
Well, you made that clear that I need to step up and make it worth your while.
What's happening? I don't understand how you guys do this, but like you managed to turn something really sweet into something slightly, it's like hidden thorns. Like what's happening?
Yeah. I mean, because it's a little comical to listen to him say, it's just these little things.
Yeah, we live in those
but
little things.
But these little things
yeah.
are so little.
They're not really so little. The little gestures they have deep roots. And the only way that those deep roots show, they don't show in the form of, love letters. They show in the little things.
Yeah. You just gotta, I roll with your punches a little bit more.
Meaning you're less reactive?
Right. Like he absolutely refused to have the AC on because, it hit 74 degrees in the afternoon during the day and he hates the AC. So I'm just like, you know what? I'll be hot tonight. And I was. So our relationship can be better. So it's fine for now.
What are you saying? Why
I'm saying
why
that
are you
some
being
of
like
it's.
that?
Oh, what? Like.
What's happening?
I'm not being the perfect guy that you were so excited about moments ago.
Okay, you're doing it again.
What am I doing? But he says that.
I said that.
But you're
he literally
making,
said
like,
that.
But you know what you're doing? From my perspective.
What am I doing, Orna?
You're turning something very sweet that is being delivered to you into something thorny.
I mean, what I'm saying is
You want Gianni to know that it's not nothing, that you're doing something.
Yeah, I'm bending for you.
And I see that.
Right, but the
okay,
concerns
let me
came
ask
from...
You.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. So you can say, I'm bending for you.
Or
you can say, I'm really making an effort to meet you.
Okay.
And that's a totally different message.
Can we move on to something that right now that we need to discuss?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Our sex life.
Yeah, you mentioned something about that. Can we? Yeah.
I have been, drinking since I was 14 years old.
Right.
98% of those times, I'm probably guessing were, sex that was while I was intoxicated.
Right.
So for the last year, I've been having to navigate something
new,
very new.
Do you feel like where you're struggling is in getting into the sex act, or?
I'm frustrated with myself because I don't have the drive that I used to. And it was very much something that when we started our relationship was there. So for it to not be there as much, is frustrating for everyone involved.
Yeah.
He brings it to my attention that it's always him that's
initiating. How does it feel from your end?
Sometimes when I start questioning myself, I'm like, am I not attractive enough? Or, these questions, is it me? Does he want to be with somebody else? And
that's where it goes in your mind.
Yeah,
But just to kind of put out a couple of thoughts, one thing is your work on, let's say to put it simplistically, why do you need to drink to have sex? Like figuring out what are you exposing yourself to when you're having sex sober. But then I'm also thinking about the dimension that has to do with your dynamic. And probably, I mean, again, it's something for you to do, and I know you're like, oh my God, me again. But
why is it always me? Is it always me?
no, it's not always you. But hold on, before we barter, putting in a little more initiative, initiating a little bit can go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
So India was at home for a year and a half. And she had a lot of time to spend with our daughter, Demi. And now that she's back at work, things have changed a little bit. She's gone every evening. So now I have basically between 11 and 5 to try and get everything that I need to do. So we talked about maybe her stepping up a little bit in the morning. So this way,
Actually, we didn't.
Yeah.
You went on and was saying, well, you don't get up in the morning and
Yeah, 'cause
she's
you-
always late and I get home at midnight. So yeah, naturally I am tired and I don't want to get up early because I prepare her breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, I have fed her from my body
I'm not
for
debating.
months,
I'm
you
not.
know?
I'm not debating whether or not you do a good job.
Yes, you are saying that, and this is your energy across the board to criticize me. He gives himself so much credit because he was working during the pandemic, yet he didn't give any credit to the fact that I was pregnant, I had a baby, I was adjusting to motherhood, and I still tapped into my resources to help us stay afloat financially.
But you're saying in the way Dale narrates things, he doesn't acknowledge that. That's
Yeah,
what's
when he gets
bothersome to
upset,
you.
he's like, oh, well, I'm the one here getting up in the morning, getting Demi together for school and feeding her breakfast. Or I'm the
As
one.
opposed to try to give an alternative narration that wouldn't be excluding.
As opposed to not saying, I did, I'm doing the most.
But let's say Dale wants to congratulate himself, the two of you.
The two of us would be
so
nice.
how would it sound?
Well, we really survived this pandemic together. Like, I can't believe we made it, but we did, and I'm so grateful.
But I say these things to you, babe.
Maybe not enough.
Okay, maybe not enough.
I
but
mean, this might be a moment to just be aware of a different way of speaking that will address a certain upset.
Yeah, because all I hear him say is, I'm gone, I've left him all alone to parent our child. That's what I internalize.
Why?
You're gone 6 days out of the week, which is an
So you
excessive
heard
amount
that
of working.
as some
dig.
kind of critique.
Yeah, that was negative.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it to take a dig. I'm just saying it to.
Hold on a second. How are you feeling about being gone?
Annoyed. I'm feeling like he thinks I'm abandoning my role as a mom when I'm sitting
I'm
here
not
trying
asking
to.
you how are you feeling between the two of you. How are you feeling about being gone?
I feel bad about me gone.
Tell me.
I knew before I even got pregnant that when kids are inserted into the equation, this schedule was going to be a problem. Like, I am in a place where I'm really contemplating giving this up. So I feel a little torn because I love what I do. But the schedule is grueling and it's just not natural for a family person. And that is starting to weigh heavily on me, absolutely. And every time I hear him say, you're gone 6 days a week, it's just a grind and a grind and a grind. It almost puts this unnecessary pressure on me to make a decision. You gonna work or you gonna
I do
be
think
home?
in this case, sounds to me like what's happening is what you're hearing in Dale's voice is really your own inner conflict. I don't really hear it coming from Dale.
I don't. I'm very hard on myself.
You are.
I'm very hard on myself.
You are.
We had the most tumultuous week we've had. It was, first of all, a scheduling thing about me getting an opportunity for a circus gig, but it's like near New York, so I get to spend more time with Josh, and I assumed that Josh would want to have more time with me because I'm spending actually a lot of time in Las Vegas.
This is just so I'll understand concretely. This
Yeah.
would mean that you would be in New York regularly, more than you were planning to be?
Yeah, 2 to 3 days more per week.
Got it.
And I think it's like, that's definitely exciting. But the conversation around something that would impact me dramatically was never had. The majority of the conversation was focused on logistical exercises and assumptions.
Rather than asking you, how would that impact you?
Or just like, hey, we're a team. Like, let's sit down and this would be a big impact on you. Like, can we just talk about the ways in which this will impact you and if you're up for this?
What are you thinking, Erin?
I was honestly pretty hurt that I wasn't immediately welcome in our home. That everything you've ever told me is you want more time with me. So I was like, it felt contradictory to everything that you've ever asked for.
But you're each talking from your own hurt or grievance. In a way, you're each saying, why don't you understand what hurt me? But you're talking about different things.
But shouldn't we be focusing our energy on the beginning parts of the friction and argument?
I think that's one way to possibly go. From my experience, it doesn't really work. And it doesn't matter who started.
I just feel like it does matter who started it.
It matters if you're in court.
I mean...
It doesn't matter if you want to just make things better.
Oh man, I just feel like for the person that initially causes the miscommunication.
But people don't always see things the same way. Who knows when it started? It could have started half an hour before the conversation even started.
Oof, that's hard for me.
I understand.
I feel like in most of the conflicts that I'm in, I'm the one that's more clear about the emotional range that I'm experiencing. And I get that there's a whole bunch of reasons why that isn't the case for women in the United States, just culturally, right? Definitely.
Josh, you're getting abstract, and let's stay a little closer to what actually happened.
I will never again live in a house. It is somebody else's dream. I'm running around trying to figure out what filter needs to go into the water softener. You multiply that by 20, 40, there's a dozen tasks like that arrive at your doorstep every day. Our time on Earth is not long,
Boris, can we can we talk about me for a little bit? I want to talk about,
So we are getting to you, love. I'm just trying to explain where I am. Don't worry, it'll get to you. It'll get to you. You're not forgotten, I promise. You're on my mind all the time. This isn't just the Boris show. I'm just trying to explain. We will get to you, I promise.
So how does all of this play out between the two of you, and what is the ask?
I'm radiating negativity, which is no fun to be around for Jessica, and...
So all of this is on your mind and heart.
Yes.
And what happens?
So, right now, I'm feeling let's talk about us and the other side of the coin. There's all the things that Boris feels he needs to be doing, and then there's the stuff that I need to be doing for us to live right now. I have to make money. And I was more stable at one point, and I'm getting less and less and less stable.
Because
what is happening here is happening here.
How?
I've been not physically well for a while. I've had a persistent cough for nearly a year. I've lost weight that I wasn't trying to lose. Sometimes my hands will shake. My immune system is just shot. If I get something, I don't get over it. It just stays. That plus the emotional part of it, I just see that I'm heading towards a place where I will probably not be able to work at all.
Yeah.
And I said to you, I think that I need you to go away for a while. I need you to move out in order to calm this situation down.
What would you prefer?
I would prefer to stay there. It's not a life that works for me, but it's even worse to move out.
Can the two of you imagine what would be a better idea to just either take a break or separate? What can you live with?
One very easy thing, one very clear but not easy thing from both of us. Boris figures out ways of not being so upfront with everything that's making him upset. Jessica continues tolerating and acknowledging Boris's difficult moments by engaging with them in a way that makes him feel like this is her burden too.
But I want to ask whether the solution you're looking for, trying to recruit Jessica to the task, is the way to go. I just want to tell you that sometimes that is a fantasy that is not realistic.
Recognition and acknowledgement and shared purpose cannot be a fantasy.
I don't know. I don't know. Recognition sometimes is code name for something that is beyond another person's capacity to give.
But then it's not a good dynamic for me.
Trust me, from clinical experience, sometimes the ask from another person, they can't give it to you. It might be that Jessica is saying to you, I cannot be the person helping you here.
I understand. The thing that I'm seeking, the other person can't give.
Okay, well, I want to hear that. I want to hear the two of you try to figure that out.
We did this last week. Let's not, we did.
So how can I help you with that?
Look, the fact is that Jessica, and I think a lot of it is valid and understandable, is fucking furious with me existentially. And has very, very, very little rope to do anything other than grit her teeth through what I'm going through. She doesn't want to deal with this. She doesn't want to hear about it.
What does it mean to deal with it?
It's just with real soul and heart, just be like, love, this is a catastrophe for you. Like, in terms of personal identity and self-worth or purpose, whatever you, why is that your reaction?
Because I have done that. I've done that. And you do not feel that it is enough.
Can you open yourself up to the possibility that you haven't?
Your feelings are so big and so, they fill up a lot of space.
They take up all the room.
I'm tired of fighting for space.
I understand. How else are you feeling?
I was initially hopeful, and now I feel doomed. And I just wish there could be some part of you that was like, my wife is like shriveling. My wife is unwell. Let's give her some stability. Let's prioritize that for just a little bit so she can get in a good place again, an okay place again. But your problem is so big that there's no room for those considerations.
I bring things to you that mean a lot to me, and you are very
dismissive.
Yeah.
Do you recognize any of this kind of...
I understand why she feels this way.
No, but do you recognize that in yourself?
I recognize why she sees that. So I know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
But it'd be like me, telling you what one side of this is and then thinking it's the whole side. No, I got it, yeah. If you look at it that way, that's what you're going to see. If you look at it a different way, you'll see something else.
Right. Okay. So wait, stop.
Absolutely.
So this is exactly what I was talking about. I'll say, don't say that. That's mean. And then the other side, so here's the one side is that's mean, those are ugly words you're throwing at me, or like making me feel small. But the other side is that you can't wait to show me is what a great and supportive husband you are and how supportive and da-da, which just makes my side irrelevant, which is your whole point of doing it.
Baby, that was a terrible example.
You are being mean to me.
I already said I understand why you feel that way.
But you don't. You
Yeah, I know I do.
absolutely
I
don't.
still do.
But okay, but if
I
you
did when I said it, and I still do. I
Okay,
don't
then
lost track
so
of it.
what part of that is on you? Like,
But just say what part is on you?
Well, there isn't a part. Look, it can happen in certain situations, but the constant in those other situations is the way that you're approaching it.
Okay, well, that's a dynamic. That's a couple dynamic. I mean, you're saying to Annie, look, there's a part that is yours, which is the way you approach me.
What part's yours?
But say, and here's where I can meet you. Here's
Yeah,
my
I mean,
part.
Look, I'm struggling to find what that is because you're
Come
right.
on, you can.
No, I'm being sincere. When you already have it, it's not missing from your
Just
relationship.
say it again. Even if you're doing that effort, you can just say, here's what I'm trying to do.
Here's what I'm already successful at doing.
That's not the same thing.
I think you'll get way more traction if you say, rather than say, I've been doing it all this time, is if you say, I can try harder to not be dismissive. What triggers me is when you talk to me in this way or that way, but I still want to keep making the effort to be respectful.
Yeah, that's insulting.
To whom?
To me. It's a
Bear that
ridiculous
insult.
thing to say.
Bear that insult. It'll be good for your marriage.
No, I won't do it, and I don't want it. If you were to give me everything I ever wanted by doing that, I'd say no. I'd rather have nothing than have that.
I think he wants it to be a situation where we live with each other and not interact. That's what it feels like. He thinks sitting on a couch like this, just staring into the box, is us interacting. And so anything outside of that, for him, is effort that he does not want to exert.
I'm assuming you're not going to agree with that description, right?
No.
No. So that's not it.
That that's what I feel. That's what I feel.
That's what
it
you
is.
feel, but you're not, you have to find a place where you actually agree on what's going on between the two of you, because you're characterizing it in a very extreme way. You're each getting polarized into your own extreme version. Let's try to find out what's really going on, not your fears of what's going on.
We used to go out a lot more. We used to go on a lot of trips. We spent more time together and we had fun together and we laughed together. And not so much anymore. But I can't put a finger on it.
But you're saying something changed in your way of being in the relationship?
Something definitely changed.
And you're saying in how much you've wanted to please?
I think for me, there's a lot of, I don't want to reward the behavior that, because, there are a lot of times I feel like, she's done or said something that I don't like, or she acts in a way I don't like. I just don't want to reward that behavior anymore. I'm not.
So you retreat
I
as
guess
a way
that's the
to
best.
punish?
Not as a way to punish, it's just.
Well, not reward as punish.
Okay. Well, maybe that's it.
You're trying to have an impact by retreating. A passive impact by saying, I don't want this behavior. I don't approve of this behavior. Yes?
Yeah.
And the behavior you don't approve of is?
I don't know, she gets mad all the time. She's always mad at something. She's always yelling at something.
Anger is rarely a primary emotion, right? Usually anger is like some kind of defense against something else. feeling humiliated, feeling sad, feeling hurt. You know, people don't like to feel vulnerable, so they put up anger. So your way of avoiding the fighting is to try to minimize interaction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like you could be offering more and you're withholding maybe because you're resentful or...
Yeah.
So what if when you want to withdraw and minimize interaction, go towards? You hear what Elaine wants from you, right? She wants to spend time with you. Yes.
Yes.
You're laughing because?
I feel like I will do that, right? And I'll do that for 6 days out of the week. That seventh day, if she wants me to do something and I don't want to do it or I can't do it, it's all for naught. And it's just
Okay,
like,
then we have to deal with that, and I will help the two of you deal with that.
I don't feel like I want to deal with that anymore.
Oh, what's I'm here. You can't. That's not. No. No, we're working.
All right.
No out.
Okay.
Stay in. What are you thinking? How are you feeling?
I'm raging.
You're raging? You look sad.
Yeah, that too.
So, what are you sad about?
I'm just tired of feeling like this. And then to hear him say that he's punishing me, like, WTF, right? Like, what?
Oh, I put that word in his mouth.
But I heard it even before you said it, because it's like what you said. Not rewarding is punishing.
Right, but you're taking that to mean that he's punishing
Trying
you.
to hurt you.
But what else do
hold
you
on.
think it means?
No, but
not
you're
trying to
taking
hurt
it to mean that you're being punished for wanting Deshaun's company, right?
No, I just feel like I'm trying to force a situation that he doesn't want. He clearly said it.
Wait, you're hearing something that I didn't hear.
That's what I
Help
heard.
Help me understand what you
He
heard.
doesn't want to put the work into that process, right? Like spending the time and going through through that for him is too much effort.
That's not what I heard.
That's what I heard.
No, what I heard is he wants to spend time with you. He wants to make the effort. He is extremely averse to conflict. Do you understand that?
There's no conflict.
Right, but what you have a high tolerance for conflict, energy, anger. Deshaun doesn't. From your point of view, the more you feel like there's anger or criticism coming your way, the more you retreat.
Yes.
And you're saying if only my partner over there would stop being angry, I could give more.
Yeah.
I would want to please more.
Yes.
Elaine is saying, I want more connection. I want more simple togetherness, doing things together. The more you retreat, the more abandoned, alone, rejected Elaine feels. The more rejected Elaine feels, the more she'll go after you. Gives each of you a pretty clear idea of what you need to do to change that dynamic.
Okay.
Yesterday, I had told her, so we could try to mix things up a little bit. I said, we're gonna go out to dinner tomorrow night. And her first response was, for what? Yeah. So that just totally shut me down. And it's just like, you know what? I'm not gonna fight about it. That's it. I don't want to go anymore.
When you say something like, for what? Do you know what impact that's having, how you're coming across?
It may seem like I don't care to go out. Even in that split moment, like I had a smirk on my face because, you know, like I thought it was something special and it just came out that way. Like I was kind of like hiding my smile for the fact that he was telling me that he wanted to take me out.
But why are you hiding your
I don't
smile?
know.
What is going
I don't know.
on?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, no,
So-
stop. Think. Why are you hiding your smile? You're turning a smile into a smirk.
It just happens that way.
But you're saying that the inside feels the opposite, that you're happy, that you're noticing that Drew is offering you something special.
Yeah.
And you're turning it around into kind of a nasty response.
It's just like I went to smile and then I stopped myself. And I didn't mean it for it to come out that way because I know that it's so important for him for us to be able to go out and spend time together and have a meal together and
it seems like it's important to you too.
Yeah.
What are you feeling?
I don't know, just like right now, overwhelmed, sad.
Sad about?
Because I don't want to make him feel that way. And I don't want to make it seem like I don't want to be happy.
But are you confused by yourself?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, I'm confused as to why I'm crying right now.
Well, maybe you're crying because you're pushing away something that's good for you and you don't understand it?
Maybe.
I think that there's still this inherent tendency because of whether it be his schooling or whether it be his parenting or a mixture of the two, that he has this inherent tendency to just fall back into laziness, fall back into thinking about his childhood rather than taking action. Like, for example, with this dentist thing, we started talking about it a month ago. If he had just made an appointment and gone that week, then that would have been much better. But instead, he asked me to help him with it, even though it was not
not what
necessary for me to do that.
It's not what happened. You wanted me to go to the particular dentist that I hated, and I didn't want to go there. So I said, I'm going to go to someplace new. I'm just going to go find someone. And you said, no, that'll be too expensive.
Oh, okay, fine. Because
that'll be too expensive.
That'll be too expensive. Go find one on Groupon. And I said, I hate the Groupon app. I don't want to use it. And she said, fine, so I'll do it.
But what are you saying?
Why should I have to do that, though, to begin with? Why can't you just do the thing that saves the money?
Because you have a good point. I didn't think about Groupon. I wasn't looking particularly.
No,
I
you
didn't say
did.
against
Because
it.
you said, I don't like the app. I don't want to bother to download it. You object to these things that you say to yourself are like, you say are too hard to do, and they're stupid things that will save you thousands of dollars.
Michal, look at me.
What?
Stop. Is this method working? Is that going to get you there?
No.
No. I'm assuming the only thing it's doing is making you shut down.
Yeah, if anything.
Well, then
Can I just say, I'm taking like a beating here. You keep saying like I'm terrible over and over and over again.
I don't think
and
you're
like
terrible.
I'm just sitting here.
I'm glad you said that. You shouldn't sit and take a beating.
But why is it my job?
But
why can't
it
he be
doesn't
an
matter.
adult?
Listen,
why is it my job to have a
listen.
method to
You-
convince him?
you
no,
need-
Why do I?
Michal,
No. See,
let
this
me
is
work
something
with
that
you.
bothers me.
But you're
why
doing
do I
the
need to
same
have a
with
method
me.
to teach this person how to adult?
Michal,
learn
you're
adulting.
doing the
You're an
same with
adult.
me. Look at me, Michal. You're doing the same thing with me right now. You're talking at me. So let's figure out a way to get the two of you out of this. Right? That's why you came here. Both of you need to ask yourselves, what is your role in the situation? And how did it happen that you got into this role? I want to
Erica-
know more of what happened to you.
I don't want to sit here and dwell on what can't be changed.
But what are you saying with that?
She cares more about punishing me for the ways that I have hurt her than anything. So it's like, for me, okay, you're going back to the same thing that you've been mad at me about for the last 6 months. And we just had a great day and we've been having a great evening, but now I gotta hear about this again.
I guess I don't know if he understands how deeply rooted that he has damaged our relationship and me within the relationship. Not even by the sex act per se, but just by the level of betrayal. Like, you lied to me in my face, and I don't deserve to be pissed on and treated the way you did to me.
Who does? I get it, I did what I did. But you
So stop belittling it.
I'm not belittling it, but it's the same light
There
as...
is a way. I mean, that's what I was trying to get
Okay,
at
so
last session. You don't seem to be moved by how much pain you've caused because you're asking Erica to say everything is great.
I'm not.
Meanwhile, there's something that, at least for Erica, is really hurting her. You can say again and again and again, we have a great marriage, but you're doing things that are hurting Erica.
I did do things that hurt Erica.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
But why is it that we're still talking about things that...
From what I'm seeing, there's some kind of repair that is not happening.
There's not an answer that I'm gonna give her that's gonna make her feel better about what I did.
Right, but just to try to stay more to the point here, something needs to be repaired.
Yeah.
You can't repair with that attitude. You can repair by truly imagining what kind of damage or hurt you've caused the other person and finding a way to open yourself up to feeling some kind of remorse.
Mm-hmm.
That's where repair comes from.
Mm-hmm. That's her attitude.
What do you mean?
I mean, that's her attitude.
Towards you?
Yes.
Well, from what I've seen here, that has been your attitude. You might be
Well,
doing
you're
something.
seeing me 6 months of being badgered, punched on repeat.
My impression is that there's some way that you're not bringing yourself to the table.
I don't know how else I can bring myself to the table. Every time that topic comes up, it turns into a drag-out argument because my answers don't make her feel better. It doesn't fix a problem.
Maybe
It
I
makes
want Sean to
for
tell me
more of an
actually
issue.
what the role I did play in his cheating, because I think I need to understand that.
My infidelity was me being selfish. The only role you played in that is that in our previous conversations that we've had about what is and isn't okay, you have said things that have led me to believe I was able to give myself more leeway than I typically would.
That's bullshit, and you know that.
It's not. It's not.
On some other
And it's
level.
not.
People do announce that their relationship has a component of non-monogamy, what they call ethical non-monogamy, where they're honest. Why not that?
If we were to say that's what our relationship is on, I would still have the same code of silence that I have always.
But code of silence is different than being honest.
Right, that's dishonesty.
No, it's not. Because when you ask the appropriate question, did I not answer?
Sean, come on.
No, I'm just saying, I'm never gonna be somebody who goes out and sleeps with another woman and wants to come home and talk about it with my wife. That's just, nah. I don't care about what you're doing when you are not with me. So if you're gonna do it, be prepared to take it to your grave, because I don't wanna hear about it. What I don't know is not going to piss me off.
We got in a fight over text.
Over?
Oh, just like finding our dog a dog sitter. Like, I said I was gonna handle it, and I wasn't handling it the way that she thought was the best way. And so I felt like she kind of came at me. I was like, whoa, like, why are you getting worked up over this? And then that was triggering for her because I think you said something like every Mormon
You always
man.
say that. You always say, why are you so emotional? Why are you getting so worked up? It's like, I'm just explaining a situation and a problem.
Chrissy, it's the way that you do it, though.
Brock, I don't know what to tell you, dude. It's just like, look, I'm sorry. Like, I've looked back at the text that I sent this morning, and like, I don't know how else I could have worded them.
You said, Brock, you're fucking us over because you're too cheap
Yes.
to do X,
yes.
Y, Z.
We were up a creek. We were trying to find a dog sitter
We're
for 9
not-
days
Christy.
in a week, and you're
Christy.
offering your cousin $200?
Christy, we're not up a creek. Like, it's not the end of the world.
So, but what you're trying to say to Christy is?
If we get in a fight like this, I sit back and I'm like, why do I continue to entertain this, like, this dynamic when, like, she's already hurt me so bad? It's just like, I always fall back to that. Like, why am I putting up with this?
Just say it.
Not her, like this. Like, why am I
What
putting
did you
up?
say, Christy? Why am I?
Her. She's like, why am I putting up with this bitch?
But
basically,
that is not
you know?
the thought. That is not the thought, though.
What is the thought?
I don't like it when you talk to me like that. It escalates things. Like, it makes things way more intense than they need to be, and it turns it into a fight, and then I'm not connected with you. And I don't want to be connected with you.
Fine, then don't be connected with me. Like, I just, like, don't know what to do.
I'm torn between addressing this kind of surface level communication, but it sounds like you're also sitting on the betrayal you've felt and need to work something out further about what happened.
And I'll be honest, Orna, like, I don't know what else can be said or explained. She's explained it in so many different ways. And are there some things that she has said that I wish I, like, had not heard? Yes.
What do you mean?
Like, there was one time where I asked, like, if things had gone well with him, would you still be with him? And you said probably yeah.
You're like, I don't know what to do. Brock, here's the thing.
What's happening right now?
I feel like you put me between a rock and a hard place sometimes, because you're always asking me these hypotheticals. What if this had happened? What if that had happened? What if this had happened? And I don't want to patronize you. I want to be honest, but I also don't know. So then I'm as honest as I can be, and then you're hurt.
But it is hurtful.
I know, but like I don't know. So like if anything, I'm going to
But that is the truth.
Yeah, like literally,
But
I don't know.
It is hurtful, and listen, so that's what's going on. You want to be honest, which is brave.
Yeah, but it always fucks me over.
It doesn't fuck you over. It means you have to bear the consequences.
I know.
It's like you want to be honest, but you can't stand what's coming back at you.
What are you supposed to do when two people in a relationship have just diametrically opposite feelings about one of the most prominent experiences in their lives?
Like their home.
Like their home life.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned here before, I feel like we have made our lives, and particularly my life, much, much harder through the choices that we've made. And Jessica has a different experience of our lives, and I'm unhappy and she's happy. What do you? There's only so much hiding in your love for kids that you can do,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would say that I'm clinically depressed, right? And I think I'm clinically depressed, an accumulative reaction to an ongoing series of failures to find a place that feels like home.
Yeah.
And I like putting a smile on my face while I feel that. It's
Impossible.
like it's like asking a paralyzed person to get up. It's just it's a mental issue. It's just I can't do it.
Can I ask you to pause? Where are you, Jessica?
I've never asked you to put a smile on your face.
Ever. I don't.
Where are you?
I'm not good. I'm very tired. I'm very tired of talking about this. I'm very tired I'm very tired.
Tell me.
I think it's just assumed that I can't understand and that I can't change. I can't give him what he wants.
Which is?
Understanding and solutions.
Well, I guess those are two different things.
Yeah, they're different things. So if I understood him, I could help us find solutions for this problem.
For me, the issue is not understanding, it's acknowledgement.
Or being in there with you. As you said, feeling like it's our problem rather than your problem.
Yeah, it's a feeling, it's a matter of tone, it's not a matter of words. Any words can get said, but you can't fake feelings.
Mm-hmm. Can you say more about what it's like to be in your shoes?
I don't know.
Keep going. What's coming up for you?
There's nothing to say. There's really nothing to say.
Because?
Because we've had this conversation so many times and it's just blowing up in my face.
Right, but I'm here, so let me at least hear how it potentially blows up for each of you, and maybe I can help.
So we know we can't move. What can we do to help you feel comfortable for now? Is there anything that we can do that would give you any comfort?
And the answer is no. The remoteness of the place is the problem. Home ownership is the problem. Joblessness is the problem. Professional and financial insecurity is the problem. Like, there's nothing that my wife and kids can do. The only thing that would make me feel less alone is if I felt like my wife wasn't gritting her teeth through the times that I brought this up. Can't you understand how this move has this thing that is helping you thrive? I don't understand. It's so plain. It's so simple. Like, can't you see how it's made my life harder?
Yes, Boris. Yes. And I would do almost anything at this point to help you feel better. I know that you're in a lot of pain. But my knowing doesn't seem to help. And I have failed to make you feel that I have sympathy for you, that I'm proud of you for doing everything else that you've done. And so you feel really alone. And I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That doesn't mean anything.
I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Yeah.
There has been like this sense of entitlement in the past that has been like at the core of our problems. And
tell me about that.
Lauren is the breadwinner in our family. In the very beginning, it was like I was her assistant because I didn't have, I was figuring my shit out job-wise.
It's not like we had a conversation and I'm like, you're my assistant.
No, I didn't say that. But that's how you treated me.
But since you're not the one making money, then
I should be doing
things. You should help.
It was expected that I was gonna get up every morning before her and make the coffee and give it to her. And when she came home from work, I was gonna have dinner on the table and I was gonna do all the laundry and I was gonna be there to do everything.
I don't think that's totally true. I think there was a bit of I'm trying to help us survive and
By
get this
making
new
money.
job and make money, and I needed help. We have struggled with this. I felt to an extent that, yes, if someone's going to sacrifice some time, it makes sense for the person who's not earning close to as much, like not even close to as, like, he was not, in the grand scheme of things, wasn't keeping us afloat even in the slightest. That made sense.
Well, there's not, I mean, you didn't invent that paradigm, right? That
Right.
money equals power and
No.
money equals some privilege in the relationship.
And it is
So-
something that we have talked through, and I have worked on, and it has been
Yeah.
very, very, very hard to switch that mindset. In the past, I would say entitlement, yes. Today, I just feel like it kind of comes from a place of, I don't know how to keep up. I'm nervous when there's dishes around.
Because you don't want to do them. Can I ask a question?
I mean, like, it's not because I don't want to do them. I don't mind doing the dishes. I just don't have that much time that often, and I don't know.
And maybe you don't feel like it's your job because you're more of the breadwinner?
Ding, ding, ding. If we're working, let me ask you this. If you and I are both working the same amount of hours, whose responsibility is it to clean the house and to make sure shit gets done?
Ideally, we should both split it.
When does that happen?
Well, can I
Not that
just
often.
ask? I know it's not a PC question to ask, but, and does it matter how much money each person is bringing?
I think in my gut, I feel like, yeah.
He sent me a text last week about our sex life that he's not very happy with.
How was this text phrased?
I just told her that it's non-existent. I feel like I'm not wanted.
Meaning you're feeling unwanted and
feeling like I don't even know how to even go about sex with her anymore, because there's been plenty of times where she's denied it or she gives an attitude about it, and she's just like, oh, fine, okay. You know, it's not even about the physicality of the sex. It's more of the feeling that you get from your partner from that.
So Tashira, how was it to receive this text?
I was a little annoyed, to be honest. And I responded to him 2 days later, and I was honest with him.
2 days, you just didn't respond.
No, I didn't respond. I didn't respond.
What was going on inside you during those 2 days?
You know, it's difficult to say out loud that I find that he's more attracted to me than I am of him. And, you know, his weight. And I know that he has an issue with it as well, because we've only had sex maybe 3 times completely naked. I mean, I've been completely naked, you know, but he hasn't.
Drew, you don't get undressed?
Yeah, I'm just wearing my t-shirt. I'm just used to it. Not 100% comfortable with my weight, but, you know, down the line during our relationship, she's said some bad things in an argument about my weight. So I don't understand how you could make me feel any comfortable in wanting to get fully naked. So yeah, but to come to the actual point of it, she's just not attracted to me because of my weight. I don't know if it's because of the way that maybe I gained a couple weight after the baby was born and we moved in, or maybe she's just never been comfortable with it. I don't know. She needs to figure it out, because if she's not attracted, then that's that. Because obviously, if there's no attraction, there's no relationship. And I'm at that point where I'm just, every time it's just a new issue. If it's not, we can't talk about it, she feels like she can't talk to me, or if it's not the resentment of having the baby, or if it's not the resentment of moving in together, and now it's the weight thing. So every time it's just a new thing, you know, and I'm just tired at this point. I really am.
Sure, it does seem like I don't actually get a real sense that you're invested in the relationship. Am I wrong?
No, no, you're not
So
wrong.
what are we doing?
I mean, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to work on this. I mean, like I said before,
I think your way of bringing yourself into, let's say, this kind of therapy might be similar to what you're doing in the relationship, which is you show up and your entire message seems to be, I got nothing. I have no wish here. Which might be simply that indeed you've got nothing, you don't have any interest, or it might be your way of positioning yourself. And I think that's something for you to think really hard about.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you two?
Could be better. I'm feeling a little bit cooped up. You know, most kids' schools are closed, so they're home all day, every day. I felt like I was just going crazy. And then he told me he would be here all day with me, working from home, and I was just so happy. But my frustration level with him hasn't changed. I still feel like I want to kill him. I feel like definitely because he's home, I have more direct contact with him, so I see what he's doing like every day, all day, and he's been spending a lot of time wasting his time. And at the same time, you know, I'm working at my company, and then there's the kids and the house cleaning and just everything that goes along with that. And then when I like see that, you know, he's spending hours like watching TV or talking to his friends, I just feel very taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll get back there. I want to hear Michael's perspective on this.
She doesn't know what exactly it is I do, and she doesn't know what I'm able to do while I'm doing that. I just feel so annoyed that, like, why do I have to go into the weeds as to what I'm able to do?
Nothing.
Literally.
You realize that right now, if I worked 1 day a week, which I'm doing now, I would make more than you make in an entire week. You literally do nothing. You're so lazy. Your existence is worthless right now. It's absolutely worthless.
I want to make a suggestion.
The kids are dirty. Like, I don't understand. Did you give Livy a bath today? Because he seemed to be wearing the same thing as last night. Surprise, surprise! Not surprised at all, actually. Did either of them eat anything that wasn't junk?
I need you to engage with me in a way because we can't have you just keep repeating yourself. I really get it. But do you want some help in changing things?
Yeah, but I don't think that things are going to change by him just constantly saying, I disagree. I disagree.
Yourself.
She doesn't see me. She doesn't see what I do. You know what? You want me to not see what you do? Stop doing everything because you literally do nothing. So just stop working. Stop it. I don't need you anymore, okay? That'll see what you can actually give to this family.
Michal, you are unraveling. Michal, can you engage with me? I understand what's frustrating you. But the way you're doing it is not working. It's really not working. But Michal, what if you were for a while not in the business of handling Michael? Hold on.
What if we did it the opposite and he tried a little bit to be more like me? And see how hard it is to do all the things that I just do for him and for this family.
Honestly, I think that I probably do more for the family than she does. I think that she's...
I'm sorry, but this is just like such bullshit. Like when I hear something like that, I literally want to smack him.
I'm not managing to have much of an impact, and I don't know if it's partially due to this technology, but it's very difficult for me to intervene at all. I feel like either you don't hear me, or you're not interested, or you're too invested in this thing that the two of you do, and you don't actually want help from the outside.
I do want help. I want to try. I would be happy to try to do this.
Okay, so If you started doing a few things that you're watching Michael doing and you're feeling envious of, what would that be?
Well, I feel like he spends a lot of time watching TV, talking to his friends, not really taking care of the kids, but just kind of hanging around and playing with them. So I want to do all those things.
Okay, so can I now give you kind of a doctor's prescription that every day you're taking 2 hours a day to do that? 2 hours a day.
How am I going to fit it into my schedule?
I'm serious.
Okay.
And whatever you want done during those 2 hours, dump it onto Michael, and Michael will have to do it his way.
Right.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
We met within the context of an open relationship at a time in our lives where, you know, I was exploring things and he was exploring different things, and we kind of met.
Generally, what kind of things?
A more open sex
More
life.
sexually.
Yeah.
Sexually. We were both exploring sexually.
So he and I are separately serial monogamous, right? From one relationship to another to another. And I think for both of us, we realized sex doesn't have to mean one person for the rest of your life. It can happen within the confines of an emotionally committed relationship. And I think that's what attracted both of us to each other, right? And created that bond.
Did you bring other people into your
Yes.
shared sex life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did that work for the two of you?
Yeah, I think at the time, like, I always looked at it as like we were kind of our like exploration buddies, you know, and that's kind of where the relationship flourished from there.
And did that stop at some point?
So boundaries became a huge issue, and we did.
Who wanted what kind of
I think
boundary?
when we first got together, the boundaries were that we only dated other people together as a couple. And then, you know, just scheduling issues became difficult, whatever. And so she started dating someone on her own. So then, you know, we decided to try that for a while.
But then his boundaries were, okay, you can't go on long walks with them, you can't cuddle, you can't do this,
Well, that's
you can't
going
do
way
that.
back.
Hold on. Meaning you can't do things that
I
are...
can't do monogamous relationship things with other people. And
You can do pure sexual...
just pure sex, show up for
Got
the
it.
sex, put your clothes on and come home.
Got it.
And for me, that's not sexy to me. I don't operate, you know, like that. So he had a problem with how I was going to be intimate with someone else. But then when we were looking for other people to date, he was having a hard time because most guys will respond to me. But for guys, it's much more difficult. So sometimes I would help him write the notes to the prospects, right? And it worked. But I think when he started seeing other people, there was that switch that flipped, and all of a sudden, oh, I can do this with them. Oh, I can do that with them. Oh, that's okay. This is okay. So it's a free-for-all now. So he would disappear for 3 to 4 hours, not check in, no text, nothing. And I think at that time, it wasn't so much I was jealous. It was just, hello, we're in a relationship where we have other people. So you need to be more mindful of who your primary is. This is someone who told me I can't do X, Y, and Z, and all of a sudden he's out doing X, Y, and Z.
You were upset.
Yeah. The deeper issue is really
feeling left out.
I feel fucking left out, and that's not what this relationship is about. That's not what.
You're smiling
because the irony is, like, she's saying she feels left out. It's always people trying to include her. Like,
I love how you don't take any accountability for how you make me feel. It's not about them, okay?
What would you want Will to say? What would be a way that he could convey to you that he is taking some responsibility? What would it sound like?
I guess I would love it if he says, you know what? You're more important to me than all these other people.
Is there a way that you can communicate to her that she is important, that she's actually the most important?
I feel like anytime I tell her how I feel about her, she just says, no, you don't. That's not how you feel. Or
So part of you feels defeated.
yeah, I try to reassure her with words. She either calls it bullshit or says, no, you don't. You know, I try to show her with small actions and things, and she says that's not enough, or that's not good enough, or this is what causes me probably the most stress and anxiety in this relationship, is just trying to always figure out how to make her happy and always failing at that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like I've racked my brain endlessly and have lost countless hours of sleep over it, and just trying to think of things to do and always coming up short.
What are you hearing, Ping?
Honestly, just a whole lot of whining.
Bullshit. Yeah, that's why I hear a lot too.
Yeah. Because, he makes it seem like I'm this shrew running around. Pay attention to me, pay attention to me. I need this, I need that, and I don't.
I don't think I
Wait,
said that.
I'm a little concerned about what's happening right now. Are you thinking for a second about what Will is saying to you, about his experience?
Yes.
And your response to that is a whole lot of
whining.
Whining. It's hard to know what to do in my seat with that response. Because if I can't rely on the two of you having some concern for each other, I don't know what we're doing here.
But this growing resentment that I have for him it's not from any one incident. It's from all of these incidents where I see him choosing himself, choosing his needs, putting someone else's needs in front of mine. So, you know what? Fuck you. All I hear is whining. I don't fucking care. I am the person that he can come home to, he can get comfortable, sit around and fart and be himself. But he won't do that with other people. He puts on his best self for other people, not for me.
Well, right now, we're at a state where we haven't been intimate for a while. I think it's almost a year now.
Yeah.
So I just looked at it as, we have three options. One is that we just split up, and that's a worst case scenario. Open marriage would be the second route. She doesn't want that. So then the third case would be that we, reconnect, and that's what we're hoping for.
Reconnect physically?
Physically, everything.
Yeah, kind of like rebuild everything, find our way back to each other, in a sense.
Like when we first met, I didn't think it was gonna get to this point.
What do you mean?
I didn't think that I was gonna marry you.
She just thought she was gonna go around
I thought I was just
gallivanting.
gonna be a hoe. That's literally, I thought I was just gonna go out there and just party. And then I ended up meeting her, and I was like, oh, she's great. And she's like, she fits like the ideal type of, this is what a good wife would look like. And then we both finished nursing school, and it got more serious. The next step was to get married, so we got married. The next step after that came the children. And then I hit 40, and I just reflected back, and I was like, oh shit, this is where I'm at. Like, I want to see what else is out there. But she sees a marriage or a healthy marriage as being just monogamous. I think a healthy marriage can be both. But she doesn't feel that way.
I just feel like to be intimate with someone, it takes a lot. So for her just to be like, oh, I can be with you, I can be with you, I can be with you, it's like, where's the intimacy? Where's the real connection? Like, you're just gonna go and basically spread your legs anywhere you can, and that's okay,
You're hurt by that.
That's why I always say maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the issue. Because if you look at our marriage externally, it's great. Like, everybody sees her like she's an angel. Like, she's so motherly. She just engulfs everything and kind of just is able to take care of everyone.
But something about it is affecting
us. Yeah.
Desire.
Yeah. I'm at the point where it's like I'm not attracted to you right now.
That's a difficult thing to say, but there's probably more to say than just that.
Like, I'm just not attracted to her?
I don't know if there's such a thing as just not attracted. There's something to say here.
I don't know. I feel like I'm like how do you say this? Those sleeping bags when you go camping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just trying to get out the sleeping bag.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly how it feels like. Like it's nice, it's comfy. It's like it keeps me warm. I can sleep in it. You know, it's safe.
Yeah. I see. Too
But
safe.
just,
Too safe.
I just want to get out.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
I feel hurt. I feel
hurt.
Lost. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Lost, like you don't know what to do about all of this? Well, that's why the two of you are here.
I think we're doing pretty well, pretty good, pretty well.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. I feel like we are in a really good place. I do wonder if being in a really good place is just another way of pushing down, again, like the stuff that we don't want to continue to look at.
You know, we've had these really wonderful moments together. We had a lovely date the other night. You know, physically, things have been really very intimate and good. Good. Very good. But with that comes this, I think, a little bit of like, oh, is this too good to be?
I think for me, I guess I don't trust or know when I'm gonna feel fully forgiven by you. I don't know when it's all gonna come up again, right? Like I feel like when we're in a really good place, I wanna get comfortable, but then I'm not sure when all of a sudden everything's gonna be thrown back at me.
It seems to me that you are looking for a point that then we move past.
I'm not looking for a point. I'm just anticipating that while we're good now, it doesn't mean we're not going to have moments where we're not good. So I'm anticipating that it's going to bring back, I don't trust you, and...
It might.
Right, so that is not, I'm not interested in doing that for the next 50 years.
Right.
I'm not interested in hearing about all the things that I've done wrong. Like, I am not interested in that being what is brought to the surface every time we are in some sort of a difficult situation. What needs to happen for you to have this not be part of our present anymore?
I might be thinking too much about the past.
What are your thoughts about the past?
Why are you shaking your head?
Because it's frustrating, honey.
What's frustrating?
He won't
what?
He won't talk about...
But he is talking.
Well, you just rolled your eyes. But this is typical of us, right? That you're like, I'm ready. Here we go. Let's get on my timeline. I'm ready to move on. I want this healing to happen. What does it take? Let's do it. And I won't have to be responsible for, you know, about the pain that you feel or whatever.
That's not it. It's just that I don't like being caught off guard. Right? Like, I don't know.
So, but Molly, then my suggestion to you would be to create good conditions for talking or opening up a dialogue.
So, like, I guess something that we could get into is that you have kind of said for a long time that the decisions that you made were about you and they weren't about me. And then the other morning to have you say basically some of your choices were kind of an F you to me, were a way to like get me to react or get me to respond.
What was your reaction hearing that?
I kind of felt included in like a weird,
not weird,
fucked up way. Well, it feels fucked up that like you're included in my infidelity. Like
that's not weird.
Right, but I guess in my mind I felt like that, like the kid is sitting in the window totally by myself. And so that's where I emotionally was like, okay, Molly is not thinking about me. She's doing these things and not thinking about me. And that means she doesn't care about me.
And that she will ultimately leave.
And that she ultimately could leave, yeah. Yeah, to feel like kind of included was a different kind of feeling, which was welcome.
It breaks you out of the narrative that you had as a kid.
Yeah, that I'm
into this story and this family.
Yeah.
We just signed a lease on a new apartment together.
Yep.
Not now. It'll happen in a few months.
Yeah.
So
Excited.
And now we're like
also nervous.
Nervous.
Very nervous.
But can we just backtrack a little bit? So the decision to move back in together, tell me about that.
I think that like,
I mean, have you been talking about it?
Not really, honestly.
Not really.
But like, honestly, a lot of it's financially driven.
Which actually, that's the primary motivating force for me too.
Yeah.
And that's a little scary that that's the motivating force.
Yeah.
That freaks me out a little bit. I'm thinking a lot about like this feeling I've had of independence, right? Of freedom. Like, how do I maintain that now in a shared space? And so, like, I felt good about the unit. I liked it. But I definitely saw in my head separate living spaces. Like, I saw that.
What do you mean?
Like, a place for me to go at night and sleep and, like, have my night routine. And that's why we kind of we were arguing yesterday, because I really wanted a Murphy bed. I want a bed that I can pull down and it's my bed, right?
But it's still a one bedroom. It's still not a ton of space. Like, I don't know if I want a Murphy bed taking up a quarter of the one shared living space. And I was kind of envisioning that, like, we sleep in the same bed again. Like, if you don't want to live with me, then why are we getting this one bedroom apartment? Like,
well, I do want to live with you, but I don't really see a problem with having a separate bed space.
yeah, I don't know.
Well, are you open to being flexible on that? Or is it, I can only sign the lease if
No, I just don't think that makes a lot of, I don't know. That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, are we coming together or not?
Can you tell us something about how you're feeling about what Brock is saying, that he's suggesting that you sleep separately? How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling sad that, like, you're not excited. It sounds like this is gonna be like, what? You plugging your nose and swallowing this decision down? Like, I didn't think that it would be this, like, huge negotiation to, like, sleep in the same fucking bed.
I mean, you're getting mad, but you're saying that underneath it sounds like you're hurt?
Yeah.
Because you're understanding it as a statement that Brock is...
I mean, it definitely feels like a rejection, obviously.
A rejection of?
Being with me, loving me, wanting to be in partnership with me.
I understand that when you interpret something as rejecting, it can make you kind of tight and protective of yourself. But I don't know if that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can ask openly if that's what it's about.
Yeah. I know it feels stupid to even ask because I know you're going to say that's not what it's about, that you literally, it's so surface level for you that you just want to sleep in your own space.
Wait, ask.
Damn.
Ask.
Damn, girl.
Okay.
That's quite an assumption.
Is that what's it about?
No. But what it is about is, like, the last couple years, like, I feel like I've grown so much as an individual, and I know that you have too, in our own spaces. And part of it is me kind of just being afraid of like losing that. And so it's not a rejection of you. Like, I'm really trying to preserve like that part. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's what yeah. But I'm saying, like, moving into a one-bedroom apartment with me feels like us both compromising, us both agreeing to give up our individual spaces to come together. And it feels like I'm willing to do that, but you're not. And so I'm like, here now, being like, what gives? I'm just confused.
Wait, do you feel like you're giving up autonomy too?
Yes, willingly.
But would you like to have that? Because
no, I'm giving some up to move into an apartment with you, and it feels like you don't want to do that same thing.
Because we don't have to make that sacrifice. So I don't really see it as a sacrifice because it's not something we have to make.
I've been wanting to connect Josh and my other partner, but like having this nervousness of not doing it right, and like when I bring up things that hasn't gone well, and like feeling all the ways that like I feel like I've let him down and I've let her down. And a situation happened again recently where my other partner had invited Josh to a party and asked me whether she should indirectly invite him or if I should do it. And like, instead of just saying like, Aviva wanted to invite you, I like freak out like internally, and I don't know what to do, and it feels super stressful.
It was interesting. The text message was literally like, I'd really like Josh to come. Do you want to invite him, or should I invite him directly?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And now we're here the day of, and zero action has been taken. And it's like, there's something here. Like, how do we resolve it? Are you sure you even want this? Like, actually, like, I'm not even upset anymore. I'm just like trying to understand, like, what is the block here? And me getting upset, because I've been reflecting on it, I was like, it's definitely not gonna help anymore. Right. Trying not to do that.
And how did that go, that conversation?
I mean, I think it was a very good conversation, even though it was incredibly like painful and challenging. I really feel like I hit a bottom, actually, maybe like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whatever, recently.
What do you mean a bottom? What was there?
What was there? Wow.
What was there?
I think just a perspective shift. I'm just in this very challenged, very dark place. I'm isolating myself. I'm very much stuck in this cycle of overwhelm. And then I feel like from that point, I was like, oh my God, I don't have plans with anyone at all going forward, period. So like trying to make plans, being like, oh my God, my relationships, I'm doing this in both of them. I feel like I detached from being the main character of my own life. I was just kind of like completely in the flotation of existence.
Erin, what are you thinking?
I was really proud of like, wanted this for so long in terms of like this deeper reflection and pause that Josh is able to create. And then it makes me think, okay, great. A lot of things that I wanted to solve are gonna be like easier to solve. Like him and Laura. my girlfriend. They were like fire and fire together. They went through a messy breakup with each other and don't want to really engage with each other, and that's hard for me.
And do you have any thoughts about Lorena talking about not being kind of the main character of her own life?
Oh. Yeah, I mean, that happens, sorry.
Loud is on her mind, apparently. Pretty
Well, yeah, she
clearly.
just came back and I got to see her. And I was, okay. Okay.
You're laughing because?
We're laughing because, like, you were like, what am I thinking? And I was obviously thinking about Josh and Laura, like my partner, my other partner, you know?
Right.
And then you're like, okay, how does that, and then you're like, you drew me back to, how does Lorena not being the main character of her own life? I was like, oh, wow, okay. I'm refocusing.
It might also be playing out exactly what you're talking about.
Interesting.
Can you
Which is
elaborate?
that you very easily recede. The question to you is, what do you want?